Third POV. 10 minutes passed as the UA group took an earlier-than-expected break from the death battle videos after a certain fourth wall-breaking mercenary tested their patience to the limit. Throughout this time, Edgeshot and Ida kept to themselves to calm their heads, while the flame hero, Endeavor, found solace in his son, the two preferring to calm their heads with a more academic pursuit, their dad-might theories. Meanwhile, the main girls of the sisterhood, save Jiro and Setsuna, were discussing among themselves with serious faces. Ochako and Azui revealed to them all they gathered from Ida about the truth behind the Hosu incident and the defeat of the hero killer Stain. Azui informed them of Ida's slip when she talked with him, and how he said Midoriya came to his rescue before correcting himself to say Endeavor like the story was told. Ochako likewise noted Izuku's and Todoroki's glances at Ida, and how Izuku seemed spooked at the sight of Stain yet kept his story straight about Endeavor doing all the real hero work. The girls frowned at this as their thoughts were brought back to the video they watched last night, which contradicted what they knew of their green-haired crush. It showed Izuku, Todoroki, and Ida being the true victors against Stain, and Izuku being the one that saved Ida from the hero killer, not Endeavor saving the three boys from the villain. But why would they say that Endeavor did it? Why lie about it? Hagakure asked out loud, giving voice to the girls' questions. I think I may know why, Momo muttered. Well, of course you would, Yamamo. You and that beautiful big brain of yours, Mina cooed dramatically, rubbing the side of Momo's head. Mina, Momo whined, blushing embarrassingly. Okay, I think we can tease her about her impressive brain later. Let's not waste any more of our break, alright? Melissa asked softly. Mina sighed. She and the others found the request reasonable, as the break could be over at any minute. Shouldn't we wait till Jiro and Tokage are back? Nijire asked. Now that the periwinkle-haired girl had pointed it out, they glanced over to see Jiro still in conversation with All Might and Mizu. The former #1 pro was still looking at Jiro's phone with earbuds in place while Jiro talked with the UA principal, who looked very serious and attentive to all her words. Meanwhile, none of them missed that Setsuna went off to have a conversation with the person they all were pining for, Izuku Midoriya, and has yet to return either. This was suspicious to them, and they even feared that Setsuna might be getting one over on all of them by getting Izuku alone with her. We can tell them about it later, Azui shrugged, seeing no use in worrying after already placing trust and camaraderie with each other. Additionally, even if Setsuna got to Midoriya's heart first, Azui wouldn't mind. Her heart's goal was mainly to get with the man of her dreams, not caring whether she was first or last. All of them swore to each other when they formed their sisterhood to share Midoriya with the 10 of them, Setsuna included, and that was good enough for Azui. Yeah, alright, make with the theories, Ponytail, Mei exclaimed. Momo sighed, shrugging off Mei's excitement and forgetfulness of her name despite their allegiance. Well, if what Uraraka and Azui have gathered is true, Ida could have gone after Stain by himself without the permission of his internship hero, Manuel, Momo began to theorize. This could be likely because of how upset Ida must have been with Stain's attack on his brother, the former Ingenium. That is true. The class rep did seem quite depressed and determined to go to Hosu no matter what, Hagakure noted. But why would he assume that Stain was still going to be there? Ryukyu told me about Stain a bit when discussing potentially going after him. Nijire spoke, a more serious face on her than many of the girls have seen before. She said that Stain often stays in a city for as long until he hunts down and attacks at least 4 heroes, and by then he had only attacked Ingenium. The news did say that he went after Native that night when the Nomu were released too. Ida must have also realized this, or at least hoped for it, and gone to Hosu to try and take revenge. Momo nodded. However, if he went after Stain without permission from Manuel, which seems likely, then it would be considered illegal hero work at worst and vigilantism at best. Same if Midoriya and Todoroki fought Stain as well without any permission from their internship heroes. So, you're saying Endeavor taking down Stain was a cover story to prevent Izuku and the others from facing the consequences of facing Stain without permission? Melissa summarized. It's the most likely reason why those 3 haven't gotten any of the credit that the video showed, or why they said that they aren't allowed to talk about the attack. Momo nodded. But that's not fair, Mina pouted, stamping her foot at the injustice. Midori, Ida, and Todoroki did something that no other hero had been able to do and saved that native guy's life. They should get the credit, not Endeavor. But then they would have also faced harsher punishment for technically breaking the law, Azui pointed out. It could have even affected their ability to remain at UA or continue being heroes at all. Plus, I don't think Deku would have cared either way, Uraraka replied, a soft, loving smile on her face. Deku's not the kind of person who would want the fame or the glory. He just wants to help people, and he did that by saving Ida. So, if he were told to go along with the story, he would do it just for the chance to continue being a hero. That does sound like muscles, doesn't it? May chuckled fondly. Fond and loving smiles grew on the faces of the girls at the selfless character of the guy they fell in love with. It was then that the boy himself, as well as Setsuna, re-entered the gym/makeshift theater. From the looks on their faces, whatever transpired between the two looked to have been a serious conversation, the two greenettes looking emotionally exhausted. They didn't appear mad or upset with each other, but it was clear whatever the result of their talk left one or both of them feeling awkward and contemplative. They also saw the two's eyes meet, with Izuku giving her a nod that Setsuna returned with a soft smile. Coincidentally, Jiro had returned from her talk with All Might and Nizu as well. The two adults looked very serious, with All Might looking pale and worried, something that Melissa could see and frown with suspicion. So, what did we miss? Jiro asked as she and Setsuna returned, giving the greenette a raised eyebrow. It was unclear whether she was talking to the girls or Setsuna specifically. Before either Tokage or the girls could respond, Nizu voiced out the end of the break and asked for everyone to reconvene in their seats. "We'll talk later." Momo finished their meeting with a pointed look at Setsuna for good measure. Setsuna sighed, tired. "Looks like I got some explaining to do," the greenette thought to herself. Eventually, all the children and adults had been seated, and with a nod from Nizu, May clicked play on the next video. "Imagine right now. What does the apocalyptic destroyer of worlds look like?" was asked the viewing audience. Immediately, the answer to such a question formed itself in many minds to either All for One or Shigaraki. Toshinori remembered the darker ages when All for One reigned supreme over the villain underworld, the sheer power he possessed that he fought with all his prime's might, and the resurging threat that was his nemesis and the league of villains he helped flourish. Izuku and his friends thought the same, the Baku squad, Bakugu, and many in the room remembering that sheer terror that All for One imposed on them, whether in person or on their television screens. However, Izuku also lumped Shigaraki, especially with All for One, as the horrifying and disgustingly joyful smile of Tomura Shigaraki back at the mall is still imprinted in his mind. Hawks thought of the PLF leadership and their leader Shigaraki, as well as the army under their following, especially Gigantomachia and Twice, the latter of the two also administering guilt into Hawks' conscience. Kirishima and Mina both also added Gigantomachia as their envisioned destroyer of worlds in their universe, the trauma of that day still engraved into their minds and only reawakened with his earlier reveal as a counterpart to another character. "Stop thinking because you're wrong," Boomstick answered. "It's these pudgy pink terrors." "Excuse me." Mina raised an eyebrow. Kirby, Nintendo's floating puffball of never-ending cheer and dreams. Boomstick revealed the first destroyer of worlds. And Majin Buu, the most vicious monster in the Dragon Ball universe, was revealed the second. These are what they believe to be destroyer of worlds. Endeavor raised an eyebrow, his annoyance with this series of videos already coming back with a vengeance. "Hey, don't count them out yet, number one. After all these videos have already shown you that appearances can be deceiving," Maruko snickered. "Can you verify if any of these characters exist in universes we already have seen, Midoriya?" David Shield asked the green-haired boy. "I think so." Izuku pulled out and flipped through his notes. "Mostly the latter one. Was said that Majin Buu exists in the Dragon Ball universe. That's the one with Goku, Vegeta, and the Dragon Balls. The orbs that grant wishes." "Wait, you mean the same universe where your counterpart fought against guys that blow up planets with their fingertips?" Kaminari pointed out, remembering Goku defeating Frieza and facing off against Superman in their death battle. Then just how powerful is that pink blob? Mineta exclaimed in fear. He's Wiz and I'm Boomstick. Boomstick announced them both. And it's our job to analyze their weapons, armor, and skills to find out who would win a death battle. Wiz finished the intro. The first fighter was the opposite of what anyone would believe to be a destroyer of worlds. The being was round and pink with stubby protrusions for arms, with red, oval-like feet or shoes, but none of the group could see the connecting legs. The pink puffball also had one of the most adorable and innocent faces the group had ever seen. Two ovalish blue eyes that screamed happiness, accompanied by a usually smiling mouth and ever-constant rosy pink cheeks. The pink cheeks looked so familiar. Ochiko's own burned ever brighter when she realized everyone looking at her as a comparison. Regardless, all of the girls pretty much cooed at the sight of the adorable walking thing that blessed their eyes. Especially Eri as her mouth opened to a similar wide smile of innocence and joy. Nizu, meanwhile, had a chill roll up his spine that reached and sparked a flash of activity in his brain. The rodent principal did not know what to make of this sudden feeling. Was it some instinctual primal fear? Or was it some sense of commonality? But then what would there be between us that would be common? Nizu thought, and his massively intelligent brain came up with an answer in seconds. The next thing the adults knew, chills up their spines came as they heard the principal of UA chuckle menacingly and maniacally, especially those under the principal's employment. Kirby. Over 1,000 years ago, an epic war waged throughout the universe. Wiz began, showing two separate fleets of armadas flying toward each other. One side had multiple similarly shaped and looking beings similar to the current fighter, including one with a white mask, glowing yellow eyes, a large cape, and a spiked golden sword. The other side seemed to include many different monsters, with their supposed leaders caped and clawed figure covered in shadow. The legendary Star Warriors battled against the vile nightmare for the freedom of everything that ever was. Koda yelped and hid behind his hands at the sight of some of these monsters, particularly an inhumanly large centipede-like monster. Izuku frowned and began writing down info about this universe, especially drawing that one caped and masked Star Warrior given his more focused prominence in the clip. They look similar to the first fighter by their shape and features. Are they perhaps Kirby's people or race? Izuku asked himself. Ultimately, good prevailed, but at the cost of many, many lives. Wiz continued, showing the devastating aftermath, including one Star Warrior's sword embedded in the ground. Endeavor and Hawks flinched, looking toward each other. War was also coming to their country, and the other side, the evil side as they saw it, was too powerful and dangerous to allow them to make any sort of moves. Both heroes knew with the way things were with their forces, if the villains struck first or were met with an equal and fair playing field, the heroes would lose, either by the fact that all of them would be dead, captured, or defeated, or because there would be nothing left of Japan even if they won. We aren't ready or strong enough to match their numbers, and we will be so desperate as to invoke the help of children, most of them inexperienced for the war to come. Endeavor looked to the UA students, looking at a certain few that were the exception to that fact, those being his son, Shoto, and his recent two interns, Midoriya and Bakugu. We must learn and evolve ourselves as much as possible, even if through these videos before it is too late. Endeavor did not wish to see his son or any of these young would-be heroes among their wars fallen. Yet one infant Star Warrior escaped the carnage, destined to awaken a millennium later and save the galaxy, was revealed, showing a star-shaped vessel sailing across space. His name is Kirby. The sound of a record scratching was heard as the ship's occupant and infant Star Warrior was revealed. Hi! Kirby smiled and waved. Susukuodi. The girls all squealed with hearts in their eyes. Not even Jiro seemed to mind the loud squeals as she was also cooing at the pink puffball, uncharacteristically. Age. The cuteness. It's too much. Kaminari wailed, gripping at his heart while a comical expression of pain was on his face. Kamakiri's eyes twitched, a befuddled and annoyed expression as he was once more questioning reality itself with what he was seeing. Su Payatink. Mina squealed at the top of her lungs, one so loud it blasted Jiro out of her uncharacteristic daze and shattered the glass of Ida's and Jirota's glasses. Hey, my hair is pink, and you never went gaga over it, May pointed out. Your hair is awesome, sister, but look at him. Mina gestured toward the round ball of sunshine and rainbows. I just want to smush and play with his cheeks all day. Anyone else thinks they look a lot like Ochiko's cheeks, Shui pointed out. Ochiko paled as Mina shifted her mischievous gaze at her. I think Tsu's just messing around. My cheeks aren't that fluffy and rosy. Uraraka waved her hands in surrender. Right, Deku. Deku? Ochiko had turned to her crush to bail her out of this predicament, but Izuku looked back and forth between her and Kirby with a blank stare. With every second, Ochiko's hopes began to waver. Eri! Ochiko then turned to her crush's surrogate daughter, who likewise made her worry with how she looked back and forth between Ochiko and Kirby. Suddenly, they lifted when Izuku and Eri finally looked at each other, nodded and turned to her. Izuku opened his mouth to respond. I'm sorry, Ochiko. We can't tell such an obvious lie. Izuku stone-cold replied while Eri smiled brightly. Ochiko's hopes shattered as she stared at the two with complete and utter betrayal. You traitors! Ochiko wailed before Mina finally descended upon her. Ochiko wailed with horror, and whined and pouted as Mina pinched, squeezed, and stretched Ochiko's rosy cheeks while her hands were restrained by Nijire and Hagakure, who were all loving this. Wait, what? The cute cuddly pink puffball who lives in Happyland? Boomstick questioned, incredulously as playful, childish music played. Are you sure you're reading the right backstory? So adorable! Pixie Bob and Midnight swooned, hearts for eyes and wagging their butts, and fake cattail in Pixie Bob's case for emphasis. I have no idea who or what that thing is, but I want one, Mount Lady declared. Ugh, just when I was starting to get interested in this fight, Miruko groaned, one of the only females who wasn't going gaga over the puffball. You can't seriously expect me to believe you don't find this Kirby adorable? Ryukyu asked her friend with a questioning look. Even I find this creature quite cute. Don't get me wrong, the little guy is adorable as hell, that's the problem, Miruko clarified. I was promised bloodshed and destruction, not cute and cuddly. Miruko doesn't do cute and cuddly. I don't know, Miruko, you saw how Princess Peach was the same and look how much ass she kicked, Fat Gum pointed out. Or rather should I say how much head she kicked. Miruko rolled her eyes, but she did relent to that comment and sat herself down, waiting patiently for what made this Kirby some destroyer of worlds. Yes, was confirmed, showing Kirby's crashed ship on a cliff while the planet's denizens, ranging from all manner of different creatures, including a penguin with a crown. He crash-landed on Popstar, the most confusingly shaped planet ever, and has been defending the kingdom of Dreamland ever since. Wiz emphasized this by showing Popstar as a literal planet shaped like a star and Kirby facing against a furious-looking, octopus-like creature. The geniuses of the group all paused, their minds coming to a screeching halt as they tried to make sense of how the planet Popstar was shaped. I take it back, we're wasting precious time, Endeavor growled, his eye twitching as more and more nonsense seemed to come. But look at him. He's just so adorable and cuddly, Boomstick himself cooed. He couldn't hurt a fly. The fuck are we watching? Bakugo growled out, lost his patience. Kirishima smiled, relieved to see Bakugo back to his old self from the last video. Kirby is a ravenous cannibal who thrives on the blood of mass murder. Wiz gave the ultimate revelation, showing Kirby inhaling another creature and standing before a field of skulls and bones. As if another record scratch could be heard in all their heads, the group paused and blinked repeatedly. Come again? Mina asked, her face still frozen on her happy smile, but tilted with confusion. Did you do this? Kirby's friend, Tiff, asked as she and the rest of Kirby's friends inspected the graveyard of remains. Holy shit, Boomstick cursed. Satisfied, Ryukyu turned to her friend with a smirk. Miruko's widening grin was as much an answer as needed. Very, Miruko said regardless. I'm listening. Bakugo leaned in his seat, begrudgingly interested. Of course you would be Bakubro, Kirishima sighed, still relieved yet always concerned about Bakugo's interests. Sure you would. Background. Age. Unknown, 200 years prematurity. Height. 8 inches/20 centimeters. Weight. Likely under 10 ounces/283 g. Species. Unknown. Infant-like and cheerful demeanor. A star warrior. Citizen of Dreamland. He may not look it, but Kirby is a powerhouse. Wiz began detailing Kirby's abilities. He possesses incredible strength, speed, durability, and an arsenal stranger than an average day in Florida. Well, he sure set the bar high then, didn't he? David whistled and shook his head, now completely unaware of what may come from this Kirby creature. Are things really that crazy in Florida? Kinoko asked the American girls. Both Pony and Melissa deadpanned and stared at Kinoko like she said the most blatantly obvious thing in the world. And never mind. Kinoko's sweat dropped and decided to drop it. His trademark power is his inhale ability, which sucks almost everything in with a powerful vortex. Boomstick unveiled Kirby's infamous power. With it, he can clear out everything from a quick meal to an acre of forest in a matter of seconds. Huh, imagine that, Sato muttered, paling at the sight of Kirby devouring an entire feast, including the dinnerware and sheet, in seconds. His paling only grew worse when imagining what Kirby would do if he made an entire feast for the class. Did he just eat those guys? Nijire pointed out, her ever-smiling face cracking at the sight of Kirby eating sentient people. Guess Wiz was right that the guy's a cannibal, huh, Tamaki? Mirio asked his friend. His appetite and ability to consume is astounding. Amajiki gulped down his bile again. He makes Fat Gum look like an amateur. Right, Fat Gum. Fat Gum. Fat Gum was rendered entirely speechless. He even dropped the bucket of popcorn in his hands. Finally, he went down to the floor level, fell to his knees, and bowed before the pink puffball. Master, King of Feasts, teach me thine ways. Accept your lowly servant, and bless thy with but a fraction of your all-consuming might. I think we might need to speed this up before Fat here starts a cult, Snipe suggested, sweat dropping. Agreed, Cementos nodded, also sweat dropping. Plus, Kirby's body is malleable, allowing him to stretch his mouth and inhale larger objects, Wiz continued, showcasing the Star Warrior's body stretching, whether it was being pulled in 4 ways or swallowing an object larger than himself. That thing he just ate was even bigger than himself, Kozai exclaimed. How wide can that mouth be? Yui silently conjured a thought bubble, imagining herself making larger and larger objects using her quirk and the pink puffball inhaling every last one of them before herself. At the last part, she shook herself free of the thought and even shivered in fear. Though he does have trouble wrapping his mouth around extremely large and heavy things. Oh dear lord no. Ibera face palmed, as she already sensed where this was going. Like my dick dash. Izuku and Mirio were quick to cover Aries and Kuta's ears, while Siro did everyone a service and covered Mineta's mouth before he joined Boomstick, which he was almost a second too late. A promise of a jack to the ear kept Kaminari's mouth shut, and a forest of threatening vines shut the boys of Class 1B, and Setsuna up. Arsenal. Inhale. Cuppy ability. Warp Star. Flight. Air Bullet. Slide Kick. Can summon Helper. Kirby weighs practically nothing, allowing him to inflate his body and fly like a sentient balloon, Wiz continued, quickly interrupting Boomstick. He can likewise spit out the enemies he inhales to use them as projectiles, and even inhale large gulps of air to fire them off like a bullet. Ha, he's almost floating, ha, Ochiko? Ajui pointedly mentioned. Shush you. Ochiko pouted at Ajui, still mad, though not really, at Ajui, Izuku, and Eri for inflicting Mina so cruelly on her. Izuku perked up and wrote down Kirby's air bullet ability, wondering if he could use this info to help with his similar Air Force technique, while his flight could be useful for Izuku's training with float. He can traverse the skies and outer space by using his own personal vehicle, the Warp Star, was said. Kirby was seen flying and surfing on a floating star. Okay, so not only is the very planet a literal star, but he even has a star for a surfboard? Izuku questioned, incredulously. It is only by the grace that Kirby is so adorable that I am not losing my mind right now, Momo muttered. I don't think our class prez has the same sentiment, Kyoko pointed out, Ida muttering and sputtering for an explanation. Which he can call up at any time on speed dial. No really, he uses a cell phone. Boomstick jumped in, Kirby flashing his cell phone and dialing up his warp star. Somebody get me that number. I tried 1-800-*******************************************************, but it was something else. Huh. Pony tilted her head, confused. Up until Setsuna whispered what Boomstick meant into her ear, to which Pony grew a blend of red and green in response. It never ends with this idiot. Kyoko pinched the bridge between her eyes. Nope, Hagakure said, popping her lips. The warp star is Kirby's primary means of transportation through the universe, and can travel at speeds faster than light, was explained. It is forged of Kirby's own energy, so while delicate should it be destroyed, Kirby can easily create a new one on his own, making the cell phone kind of pointless. Not true. The phone could just be keyed to any similar object with the same signature and dash. May, just let this one go. Melissa stopped May from continuing to try and find out science from magic. I'm more surprised you guys are so hung up about the cell phone part and not that faster than light part, Setsuna pointed out. Setsuna pointing that out only made Ida's ego along with his psyche shatter all the more that a pink puffball on a star surfboard was faster than him. Even Bakugo's eye twitched at the thought that Kirby could outfly him too. I'd be happy to take that phone off his hands, though I'm a bit iffy on standing anywhere near that star-driving balloon marshmallow, Boomstick shuddered. Look at him. He doesn't even care. He's a monster. It is concerning that he is essentially eating what look like sentient beings, All Might muttered nervously. And still while keeping that same damn smile. Vlad King shuddered as the smile became all the more sinister to him as he stared at Kirby's feats. Amajiki also shuddered. While his quirk depended on him consuming animal parts to use, and eating animals is a primary source of protein and sustenance for humans and other animals, the dividing line was usually to call animals sapient rather than sentient like humans, and the fact that the animals most everyone eats are usually dead. For Kirby to consume not only living, but also seemingly sentient creatures was definitely concerning. And nauseating. It's about to get even worse. Guess what just happened to that poor creature? Wiz jumped in, showing Kirby eating a giant Waddle Dee. See, when Kirby swallows a victim, they don't exactly die. Turns out Kirby's stomach is, in fact, an entirely separate and endless dimension of reality. Say what? Mina did a double take. I guess when they that a person's stomach is a black hole, Kirby took that literally. Mirio chuckled to himself. I believe that might be a worse fate than simple death. Kowaro muttered darkly. Imagine encountering an at first adorable creature, then swallowing you when your guard is down into their endless abyss of a stomach, and now you find yourself trapped in an endless expanse of space to which the only source of your freedom is the whims of an uncaring and cruel god of such a realm. The group stared silently at Kowaro as he finished seeding their future nightmares, something that Kuta's and Eri's ears didn't pick up thankfully. While Reiko and Tokoyami simply muttered, "Revelry in the dark," Kinoko stared at Kowaro with wide and awed eyes as she caught a glimpse of the dark and imaginative thoughts of his mind. It made the mushroom girl blush. So, he never feels full. Talk about getting your money's worth at an all-you-can-eat buffet though. Boomstick joked. All hail the great devourer. All hail the great devourer. Fat Gum continued to prostrate himself before the great pink one. Sounds like your boss found a new role model, Shoji muttered to Kirishima. Or rather God. No kidding, Kirishima chuckled nervously. Fat may be welcome in his town to all the food vendors for his patronage, but he's pretty much banned from ever going to an all-you-can-eat buffet, until the end of the day. And when the employees don't want to clean up or leave any leftovers, Kirby can trap thousands of victims in this abyss, Wiz continued. Then, he can actually enter his own stomach dimension and draw from his captive's power using his copy ability. Copy, you say? Monoma perked up, interested at the similar name to his quirk. How in the hell Does he, like, swallow himself? Boomstick asked, slightly disgusted. Mineta perversely chuckled. I'm sorry, but what are you finding so hilarious, pervhead? Kyoka raised a suspicious eyebrow at him. Nope, thinking absolutely nothing. Mineta played dumb. My mind is as void as Kirby's limits. Kyoka narrowed her eyes suspiciously but said nothing else and turned back to the screen. Mineta breathed a sigh of relief. He likely projects an astral image of himself within the dimension, which can act on the physical plane. Wiz gave a scientific explanation to the madness that was Kirby. Ah. Mina turned toward Midoriya for an easier explanation. What was basically meant was that Kirby just looks within himself, like he has a world inside his mind, and draws power from within it like a quirk, Izuku explained. Oh, gotcha. Thanks, Midori. Mina cheerfully thanked Midoriya for the easy explanation. Hee anytime, Mina. Midoriya blushed at her smile and rubbed the back of his head. It was only so easy of an explanation for him because of how similar this alternate plane of existence felt to the vestige world that he had wandered into a few times, usually via his dreams or when affected by Shinsu's quirk. Copy abilities: sword, hammer, fighter, fire, bull, umbrella, cutter, leaf, magic, needle, hypernova, star rod. Sure. Anyway, with the copy ability, Kirby's form and power change based on what he's eating. Boomstick moved on from Wiz's explanation to list Kirby's range of copy abilities. By devouring an enemy with a mallet, he can become Hammer Kirby, a master of whack-a-mole. So what he eats he becomes. Sounds an awful lot like your quirk, Sun Eater. Mirio poked at Amajiki's side with his elbow. I guess, Amajiki admitted. Though his copy ability currently ranges more on the attributes of the being he eats rather than the being itself. If any creature were to have a hammer, including one of us, then would he copy only the hammer or the quirk? Oh, that sounds painful to think about, Nijire pouted. Any thoughts on how that relates to your own quirk? Shinso asked Monoma. It is more similar to my quirk than it is to our esteemed upperclassmen, Monoma replied. Whatever abilities that this Kirby can copy seem to be those specially attributed to them, such as a hammer or swordsman. Much like how my quirk copies the quirk factor of those I touch rather than all their characteristics and features. When I copy Jirota, I may copy his quirk, but I don't copy his fur. Fire Kirby can unleash a torrent of flame and survive all manner of heat, Wiz joined in. Ice Kirby can freeze his foes solid. So he has your quirk too, Todoroki, Izuku pointed out. Only one at a time though, much like Monoma too. Todoroki showcased using both ice and fire from his respective sides. When he uses his copy ability, it's clear that he can only use one at a time rather than all at once. Wheel Kirby is fast enough to drive around the entire kingdom of Dreamland in under 2 seconds, though who knows how he can see where he's going, Wiz pointed out. Ida didn't know what to feel. Weirded out that Kirby could turn into a wheel, or even more depressed that Kirby could achieve speeds faster than him in many different ways. There's Mike Kirby, whose singing talent is apparently so awful, everything that hears it dies, Boomstick revealed. Oh, come on, no one's singing is that bad. Jiro rolled her eyes, refusing to believe any one person's singing is that bad. 3, 2, 1. Itsuka counted off. Mike Kirby began singing, his high-pitched voice so grating and painful that it caused several monsters to explode. Gagaha! Jiro fell off her seat when jumping in pain from the horrible voice that made cats scratching on a chalkboard seem like classical art. You were saying? Todoroki asked. Shut up! Jiro groaned from her place on the ground. Like Wiz at karaoke night with the ladies, Boomstick said. Yeah, hey! Wiz exclaimed, offended. Oh ho ho, you want to talk horrible singing? Have you ever tried taking Bakugo out for group karaoke night? Nina laughed. Man, even his explosions sound better. Shut up. I'm great at singing. Take that back, you pink extra. Bakugo roared, completely red, though whether from anger or embarrassment, no one could say. Dude, I still got the recording right here, Dash, Zero said before diving away from Bakugo's dive at him. forcing their classmates to hold back the explosive teen from throttling Zero. And this is why we don't do group karaoke nights with him anymore. Kaminari gestured to the scene, finally enlightening Mineta on a question that has been hanging over his mind ever since the dreaded and only Baku Squad karaoke night. Stone Kirby is nearly indestructible, Bomb Kirby is an explosive expert, and Sword Kirby is a master with a blade. He can even fire sword beams, which can cut through anything without mercy. Boomstick continued listing, showing Sword Kirby's energy slash that cut apart a bug creature's sword in two, as well as the bug creature. Damn! Okay, that's impressive, I guess, Kamakiri muttered begrudgingly. Stone Kirby is just like our quirks, Kirishima pointed out. And he drops that heavy weight onto his enemies to paste. Manly! Tetsu exclaimed. Bakugo finally gave up his pursuit of Zero when hearing about Bomb Kirby. But that's not all. He can pour a ton of energy into the blade and make it grow into the powerful Ultra Sword, Boomstick revealed. Kirby was shown using the Ultra Sword to destroy several enemies at once. And if that's not enough, he can do this to many of his copy abilities, like the Ultra Hammer Magic Kirby, or even turning himself into a giant snowball. Okay? The world's most giant snowman, Kuta nodded with begrudging respect. Fighter Kirby is a master martial artist, and by inhaling a miracle fruit, he becomes Hypernova Kirby, capable of devouring worlds, Wiz jumped in. Now we're talking. Miruko pumped her fists together, grinning wide and interested enough to want to fight the pink marshmallow with that ability on. Oh, and the destroying whole worlds thing was cool too. Last but not least, by absorbing his own warp star, Kirby can create his ultimate weapon. The Star Rod, a magical staff powered by dreams and capable of destroying evil, was displayed such an ultimate weapon. And most of the moon. So, his ultimate weapon is a magic wand. Rin questioned. Why not? Why did I even bother assuming it was going to be anything but something goofy and childlike? The only problem with Kirby's copy ability is, they don't last. One bad hit, and there it goes. Boomstick showed Kirby using his copy ability after getting hit by a Scrafty. So despite having access to multiple different abilities, if he suffers even one solid hit, then he can lose it, Izuku muttered as he wrote in his notebook. That means that in the death battle, speed and agility would have to be his most important factors to win, so that he can continue using his abilities while evading enemy attacks and use the powers for as long as possible. Damn it! Miruko's shoulders slumped, realizing that even if she did fight Fighter Kirby, it would only take one good kick, which was inevitable given how fast and powerful she is, and that ability would go bye-bye. Strengths and feats. Cracked planet Popstar in half. Punched a hole through the earth. Throw Popon to the sun. Obliterated Popstar in manga. Destroyed Nova, who is planet-sized. Defeated Nightmare Marks, Dark Matter Magalar and more. Reflected a meteor using simple cannonballs. But even without an added ability, Kirby is remarkably tough, was pointed out. He's powerful enough to crack a planet in half, fast enough to run on water, and strong enough to throw a monster 30 times his size, on a frying pan, all the way to the sun, circle the burning star, and return to Kirby's feet with a perfectly cooked monster. Sorry, I stopped paying attention after cracking a planet in half. He did what? Mount Lady exclaimed. Azui was forced to hold Ida back with her tongue to keep from smashing his head into his seat. After actual cracks started appearing on the wooden chair. I think that might be the most ridiculous feat we've ever seen on Death Battle, Boomstick chuckled. I kind of have to agree with him on that, Mandalay sighed. Still excusing these feats because of his cuteness. Suka challenged Momo. Yes, Momo hesitated and held strong. Because the alternative was smashing her head into the floor so hard, she would crack the cement. And her skull. But he's not just strong. He's so tough that he was barely phased after being crushed under thousands of tons of pressure, and effortlessly survived an explosion massive enough to eclipse the entire world, Boomstick added. In translation, he survived getting blown up with a planet-sized explosion, Kirishima summarized. How about that, Baku bro? Think you can top that? Zip it, shitty hair. Bakugo barked. He's achieved all of this despite being only 8 inches tall, was revealed. Huh. But how? Melissa exclaimed, her glasses getting crooked from her shock. How is he only this tall? Melissa showed the gap between her hands to be only wide enough for a small doll. Maybe size works differently in their world. Izuku gave the best explanation he could give. See, it's not the size of the monster. It's how he throws a fucking humongous frying pan into the sun and back, Boomstick exclaimed. Well, Kirby does have one crucial flaw. He's a baby and has yet to fully mature as a Star Warrior, was pointed out. Wait, he's still a baby. Ojiro blinked surprised. But that listing said he was 200 years old. Age often works differently with other species, Tokoyami noted. A fly's lifespan can last all of one day while a whale or jellyfish can last for hundreds of years. Yeah, he's not too bright, so he's not gonna be whipping up any genius strategies mid-fight, Boomstick agreed. Fortunately, he's powerful enough to get away with it. Kirby is the most adorably terrifying thing in the world. Kirby does his traditional ending dance while the Kirby dance music from Kirby's Return to Dreamland plays. Bravo! Simple magnificent. Mina shed a tear at the sight of Kirby's dancing. Eri squealed again at Kirby's smiling and dancing. Oh, Papa, he's so cute, Eri squealed. I wish I could hold him for a hug or have a plushie of him. Izuku's sweat dropped at the idea of Kirby despite his height being anywhere near his surrogate daughter. But a plushie of the guy would hurt. As he finished that thought, the device paused the video with a message. Package delivered. Receive. The group paused at the message and no doubt who was the sender. After several looks at each other, May would ultimately be given the green light to accept the package. Instantly, a lens opened up in the device and shone a light. From the end of it, a package was formed out of hard light technology, as David Shield pointed out, and formed a small black box that landed softly by Izuku's feet by Eri. Noticing the note on the package, Izuku picked it up and opened it. The most adorably powerful little thing in the world needed a friend like her. Izuku read the note. Looking at Eri's expectant eyes, Izuku sighed and opened the box for her. When Eri saw what was inside, sparkles could practically be seen on her. The horned girl let out a squeal so loud that dogs miles away flinched at the sound. Thank you, Gut. Jiro thanked her instincts as she removed the earmuffs. What did you get, Eri? Eri grabbed the object from inside the box gently and raised it for everyone to see with wide eyes. It was a Kirby plushie. Oh my god. So cute. Hagakure squealed. I'm so jealous. Mina also squealed. Yep, definitely starting to get the hang of this, Jiro muttered, removing the earmuffs again. I love it. I love it. I love it. Eri bounced up and down so much that Miruko mistook the platinum-haired child for a distant cousin of hers. Regardless, seeing Eri adorably suffocate the plushie in a hug warmed even her hard heart. That's so wonderful, Eri. Melissa petted the girl's hair as she investigated the plushie. And it's even 8 inches. Just like Kirby. There's a button on its hand. May's eyes zoomed at the small soft button on Kirby's right hand. Eri perked up at the mention and pressed the button. Hi! The Kirby plushie spoke. Eri squealed again and hugged the plushie again. And the students wondered if the plushie were alive it would be grasping for breath. Can I keep it? Can I keep it, Papa? Please. Eri looked to her surrogate father and pleaded with the biggest puppy dog eyes she ever mustered. Of course you can, Eri. Izuku cupped her cheek and smiled. The note said for the most adorable little thing in the world. Who else could top you? Eri's eyes watered at those words before wrapping herself onto Izuku's chest with a bone-breaking hug. As her muffled thank yous repeated in his chest, Izuku wondered if perhaps technically adopting her meant she somehow inherited his mother's bone-crushing hugs because this is what it felt like. While this gift is generous, are we sure that Eri should be given this doll? Ida asked, a concerned, skeptical look on his face. Are you not worried that it might possess any sort of equipment set to record us? Ajui deadpanned at Ida at the ridiculous statement. Hey Eri, is that all that Kirby can say? Azui turned to Eri and asked, pointedly ignoring Ida's aghast look. Eri pressed the button again, and instead of the same line, it began to play the music that was on when Kirby was dancing. Eri immediately broke into an impromptu dance with the plushie, spinning it around with her, moving its little arms and feet while her feet danced. At the song's end, Eri posed with the plushie with happy smiles on both their faces. Su Kyua, 90% of the group internally proclaimed. Oh, the two of you are so adorable. Yes, you are. Mama Mina will always be here to protect you and your innocence. Yes, I will. Mina completely lost it and wrapped Eri and the doll in a hug, rubbing her pink cheek on Eri's pale one. Mama. Eri gasped as tears welled up in her eyes again. Drawing on all the strength she had to not bawl, Eri hugged Mina back, happily smiling as she rubbed her cheek back at Mina's. Izuku stared at the two with wet eyes and a soft smile. Any fears and doubts he had in his mind about Kirby, in whatever shape or form he was in, or being sent as a package from Zayden, went away as he stared at his surrogate daughter with one of the women he loved. They looked like a real mother and daughter. But then a new concern popped into his head to spoil the moment. Izuku frowned as he looked over at Setsuna, who was also smiling at the sight of Eri and Mina hugging. He remembered her words from before, and then he looked over to the rest of the girls. This sisterhood and the reason for their forming. As much as his cheeks blushed crimson for the reason, as well as the burning cheer of joy and victory that welled in his heart. He also remembered what Setsuna said about last night, about what the girls already know, and what she asked of him to consider. Nizu smiled at the sight of the two girls, nodding in praise at Miss Ishido's love for the girl, love that such a damaged and tortured girl needed after years of pain and torment. In a way, he shared a kinship too with young Eri Midoriya, as Nizu has decided to call her. The two of them were victims of tortuous experimentation, and both have escaped from their dark past into a better place. Nizu felt envious that Eri was freed and showed this much care and comfort compared to how long it took for Nizu to be free and the solitude he had to use as a shield. Another package from Zayden, and it appears that most of these are either tools to help pave a better future for our young heroes or babbles and trinkets to entertain the girl. Nizu noticed the pattern and difference between the helpful tools, like the lightsabers and vibranium blueprints, and the trinkets for Eri, such as the Buckio hair CD and this latest plushie. Curious. Though Zayden is right in his statement, Eri is similar to Kirby. Adorable little things that they are. Both possess a power that would be the end of many if put into the wrong hands. Nizu thought grimly about the quirk erasing bullets that Overhaul had made, and hoped that they were all truly destroyed with the Yakuza leader's work. After finally calming both Eri and Mina down to get back to their seats, they moved the video on to the next fighter and their analysis. The second fighter, despite possessing a similar innocent-looking form, had a more ominous and sinister aura to it. And this non-threatening form was not the only one this fighter seemed to possess. The first form that the fighter took was that of a large and wide alien-looking individual. They possessed pink skin that was remarkably similar to Ishido's and held a tentacle-like antenna on the top of its head. Its eyes were seemingly always closed. Weird holes were on its sides like its ears, and its face was plump and round, making its chubby smile look friendly. The rest of his figure was wide and fat, with a large round stomach and arms. Its pecs and shoulders were covered by a short, black and yellow-lined jacket, with a purple cape tied around its neck. Its hands were covered in yellow boxing-like gloves. A black belt was tied around its waist with its center headpiece yellow with a black stylish M, and its bottom half was clothed in puffy white harem pants, black leggings or socks, and yellow boots. Its second form was far more sinister looking, mainly due to its now open and rage-filled eyes. Similar again to Mina, the scara of its eyes was black instead of white, though, unlike the UA student, this creature's eyes were a bloody red that perfectly matched the rage they carried. Other differences this form had were a constant frown instead of a smile, and its skinnier and more fit physique. In this form, it lost its large gut, large and head, and replaced it with a slimmer, muscled and sturdy physique. Its hands were also bare and pink like the rest of the creature, with black fingernails, and black and yellow bracers on its wrist. It was clear right away to the group that while the first form appeared innocent and friendly like Kirby, This analysis would be much more consistently darker and more serious. Majin Bu. True terror is something unpredictable, unstoppable, and dreadfully deceiving, Wiz began. All Might frowned as this statement turned his thoughts to what made All For One the terrifying symbol of evil that he was. While All For One's goal of taking over Japan, possibly even the entire world, was obvious enough, the plans and methods that the symbol of evil took were still unpredictable and terrifyingly accurate as to suggest that everything that has currently happened thus far in the present, such as his eventual discovery and imprisonment, were all planned. It was of no debate the older brother of the first user of One For All was also a nearly unstoppable monster in human form. Not even at his prime was All Might able to kill the bastard, and it took all the embers he had left to defeat him in a weakened state. A weakened state that rendered several heroes unconscious and mortally wounded the number 3rd hero. And finally, he was dreadfully deceiving, which Toshinori also found true. His survival was one thing, but it was frosting on the cake compared to the schemes and bargains he planned and executed with those in his employ. How he had Shigaraki be the figurehead of the league while he remained in the shadows, and the very act of how he got his master's grandson to be his pawn also reeked of something suspicious, perhaps even staged. While All Might thought of his nemesis, Izuku thought of the many villains he had thus far faced. Gentle Criminal was arguably his hardest moral challenge, and 9 his most destructive, the latter being so nearly unstoppable with his power and quirks that he had to give One For All to Bakugo, temporarily, to try and defeat him. Muscular was also a very unpredictable and unstoppable threat. His bloodlust making him act erratic and murderous and tanking even 100% of One For All. Stain's speed, skill, and bloodlust were likewise a terrifying force to face and survive, and he sure made himself appear unpredictable when he saved him from the winged Nomu. Overhaul was so strong and unpredictable that night I originally foretold that he would die fighting against the Hasaikai leader, and it was likely thanks to Eri that outcome never happened. However, the one foe that stood out to him above them all was Shigaraki. His emotional immaturity and rage can make him unpredictable, and his dangerous decay quirk made fighting him in close combat incredibly risky. But the intelligence, resourcefulness, and perseverance he also displayed was something that was incredibly deceiving, a far cry from how he first revealed himself in the USJ. That last note, above all else, the fact that he can grow and change so much in so little time, was utterly terrifying for Izuku, and who knows just how changed he will be when next they clash. A perfect description for the pink monstrosity known as Majin Bu. Boomstick jumped in. A short montage of Majin Bu changing forms and his display of powers leaving unease in the group. Majin Bu is a fat, pink, man-sized baby thing with enough power to destroy a planet. Oh great, another planet buster. Just what we need, Aways groaned. With the number of planet busters that come from that universe, I definitely don't want to go vacating there, Sun muttered, recalling the planet-destroying feats of Goku, Vegeta, and Frieza. Vlad King frowned, finding that his students had a point. A lot of seemingly powerful beings seem to call this particular universe home, and display enough power to reduce said home to utter rubble. I hope to whatever higher being there is out there that these beings stay in that world, Vlad King prayed, knowing that if they ever decide to find their way to their world, none of them would have the power to stand up against even one of them. And I assume he's made of some sort of bubble gum, Boomstick added. Probably Big League Chew. Would you look at that? Find something there inspiring, Mineta. Tokage raised an eyebrow at the infamous Class 1A perv as she saw the sight of Majin Bu attempting to smooch a terrified woman. Hey, I may like the ladies. Okay, really like the ladies, but I'm no rapist, Mineta declared. I know when no means no. Really? You of all people? Jiro exclaimed with aghast at the gall in Mineta's words, her mind already highlighting his most depraved and desperate acts of perverse behavior, including him trying to peek in on the girls' locker room through a hole in the wall and attempting to climb over the barrier between the girls' and boys' onsen in the Pussycats training camp. Background: immemorial. Height: fat approximately 6 feet / 183 centimeters. Height: kid approximately 5 feet / 152 centimeters. Race: Majin. Aliases: Mr. Bu of pure evil, Majin of destruction. Originally thought to be created by Bibidi. Friends with Super Janemba. Bu has existed since the dawn of time but was only discovered 5 million years ago by the nefarious wizard, Bibidi, was revealed. Bibidi released Majin Bu on a helpless universe, intent on destroying everything. Scenes of Bu slaughtering countless civilians and races, along with destroying entire planets played out. After annihilating hundreds of planets, Bibidi set his sights on Earth, sending Bu ahead in a sealed capsule just waiting to be released. "Dear Lord," Ibra gasped, hands over her mouth as she stared in horror at the slaughter brought about by this monster. Mina frowned deeply, knuckles cracking under the grip of her fist. Mina always loved aliens, or the concept of them at least. She was often teased by her looks as being that of an alien, but rather than become insecure about it, she grew to embrace her unique appearance and the moniker of being an alien. Soon after, she grew to love alien sci-fi stories, movies, and TV shows, especially Alien, that timeless classic that even survived the cultural purge during the dawning of quirks. It was the reason why she wanted her hero name to originally be Alien Queen, despite Midnight's rejection. The concept of life existing outside the boundaries of their system, a whole new set of people to befriend and help, was eye-catching for the young Ishido, and it is still a dream of hers to meet an actual alien. But this Majin Bu was the last thing she imagined wanting to meet. In fact, Mina hated that Bu, this destroyer of countless alien worlds, cultures, and people, was pink. It was giving their color a bad rap. Mina wasn't stupid to imagine that those alien races she wished to meet would be 100% good. She knew there would be bad apples in the mix. And as she wanted to be a hero, she wanted to beat those alien villains, save those alien lives, and be an alien hero for both Earth and beyond. But Majin Bu, with his power and savagery, gave Mina uncomfortably similar vibes to Gigantomachia, that giant villain that she could now put a name onto. They both appeared like monstrous creatures that seemed to have no way of defeating them, and it angered her just as much as it frightened her. But then Bibidi got himself killed before he could get to Earth and release the pink terror. Boomstick jumped in. Phew! Kirishima wiped his brow, relieved. I mean, good thing that someone put down that psychopath before he could get to Dash. But no worries, the weird lizard wizard thing had a backup plan in the form of a magic clone named Babidi, Boomstick pointed out. Yes, clone, not son, that was a mistranslation. Oh. Never mind, Kirishima muttered. Magic, Izuku muttered as he flipped back to his notes revolving ki and magic in the Dragon Ball universe. Oh, here it is. Found something, Midoriya? Mirio asked. Yeah, back in the death battle between Goku and Superman, when they mentioned the difference between magic and ki as two separate types of power, they mentioned Babidi as one of those magic users, Izuku mentioned. While it seems that Bu is using mostly ki-based attacks from those clips, I wonder if he could also use magic. Last time, Goku's only use of magic was with Power Pole that he could magically extend and hurt Superman with, Todoroki pointed out. If this Majin Bu can possess both magic and ki, he could pose a sizable threat. You know, as opposed to the already sizable threat that he was when he was just destroying planets and wiping out whole civilizations, Kaminari sarcastically spoke. Touché, Todoroki shrugged. So Bibidi, Babidi and Bu. Put them together and what do you get? Boomstick sang as he lined up the two wizards and Bu together. A Disney lawsuit, was answered. Ha 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 ha, Mirio laughed. Oh, I get it. From that fairy godmother from Cinderella. Cinderella. Eri tilted her head confused. Who's that? Oh, you would love her, Eri. Ochiko cooed as she knelt before the little girl with a smile. She's from these very old classic Disney movies. She's a princess with glass slippers, mice that can turn into horses with a carriage like that of an onion. She's one of a dozen Disney princesses. Princess, Eri gasped, a look of childlike wonder and joy sparking in her eyes. I often forget that poor Eri didn't have much of a childhood under Hasaikai. How tragic! Momo frowned, a hand over her aching heart. But hey, with us and the green bean, we can make up for lost time with her, right? Jiro pointed out. Absolutely, Momo nodded. A sparkle gained in her eyes as she fantasized about perhaps hosting a tea party with Eri and all the girls as various Disney princesses. Reiko pouted. muttering about how the old Grimm's Tale version was a lot better and more intense, like the wicked stepsisters cutting off their toes to try and fit the glass shoe on their feet. Anyway, the doppelganger Babidi set out on a quest to recover Bu and complete Bibidai's plan. Boomstick continued. Eventually, Babidi found Bu and opened the monster's shell. Was said as Babidi and Dabura found and opened Bu's pod, bubblegum-like gas coalescing into a shape. But turns out there was a slight defect and Bu was, a complete idiot. Boomstick revealed bluntly. Oh ha ho ho! Majin Bu cried out moronically as the screen spun around with the spinning idiot of a mass murderer. Endeavor and Bakugo both made a similar face that bordered between disgust, annoyance, disbelief and rage. Huh, quite the defect, Pixie Bob chuckled. What defect? I don't see anything wrong here. Fat Gum shrugged as he ate more popcorn. Is this the great Majin Bu? Dabura questioned Babidi as Majin Bu strolled around humming before stretching his body. Are you positive? The Demon King gazed at the supposed great Majin Bu with disbelief. Kaminari looked over to Bakugo and burst out laughing. Bahahaha! Oh my god! Bakugo's making the same face. Kaminari laughed. Ahahaha! Number 1 is 2. Bahahaha! Hawks joined in the laughter after realizing the same exact look on Endeavor's face. Soon the rest of the group began to laugh at the misery and mocking of the two rage-filled individuals. Endeavor harnessed all his self-restraint, manners, and years of practice to hold back his rage from making him lash out and roast the number 2 hero into fried chicken. Bakugo did not have the same level of restraint. You're dead, Sparkplug. When I'm done with you, the only use you will be to anyone is a discount outlet to charge our phones. Bakugo roared as he chased Kaminari all across the gym. Don't I already do that? Kaminari exclaimed as he ran for his life. All might Monoma, Nizu sighed, regretting that Aizawa was away with Mike for personal reasons. It took a while before they could tie Bakugo back to his seat, even with his quirk cancelled by Monoma and All Might reeling him in. Bu is the equivalent of a man-sized toddler with the power of 1 billion nuclear warheads, was summarized, showing Bu making a silly face. David Shield spit out his drink, coughing. He tried to compose himself as he nearly laughed about how painfully accurate that title applied to a certain spray-tanned billionaire before the dawning of quirks. Bu displayed his power by launching Dabura skidding across the land and crashing into a cliff, destroying the formation in a single kick. Talk about your terrible twos, Boomstick chuckled. I'll say. Tetsutets felt a bead of sweat drop from Bu's simple, yet effective display of strength. Dude had that other guy skipping across the ground like a rock in a pond. Arsenal. Chocolate beam. Flight. Body manipulation. Regeneration. Absorption. Bu rocket. Super breath. Mending beam. Innocence express. Vanishing beam. Finger beam. Vice shout. Planet burst. Bu has a ridiculous arsenal for killing worlds. Boomstick began listing Bu's arsenal. He can fly, shoot lasers, destroy cities by breathing too hard, and can fire a beam from his head penis that can turn people into candy. The heroes and students paled at the sight of Majin Bu's breath attack that completely decimated an entire city from afar. Yeah, if any of that universe's fighters come here, especially the bad ones, we're all screwed, Ragdoll determined. I'm sorry, I'm gonna need him to back it up a bit with what he said, Setsuna said, her hands gesturing to rewind the video. Fire beams from his what now? Boomstick, it's not his genitals, it's his... Well, actually I don't know what it is, was admitted. Tabling that for later dash. No, we're not. I'm more focused on the ability to turn people into candy, Sato spoke, even whilst Momo disagreed with talking any further about the head penis. You think that if you eat that candy, it will still count as sugar? Zero proposed a question. Wouldn't that be cannibalism? Jirota questioned. At first, Fat Gum was contemplating how amazing that ability would be for him, especially his quirk. If it can work on inanimate objects, then he could make even a lump of torn metal into a chocolate bar as fuel for his quirk. However, when the thought process eventually turned over to turning people into food and then eating them, Fat Gum paled and, for once in his life, lost his appetite. Can't we just simplify this discussion with, "Don't get hit with the purple transforming beam," Shinso brought up. Which brings me to his strangest ability. His whole body in general, was continued. Whatever he's made of, it's magic in nature. Boo's whole body can be pulled, stretched, or even ripped apart with no negative effects. He can even pull entire slabs from his belly and use his own flesh as a weapon, Boomstick groaned. Arg, this is just getting stranger and stranger. Well, I guess we solved whether or not he can use magic. Ojiro's sweat dropped. So, for Bu we have flight, regeneration, a transfiguration-type beam of energy, standard and powerful ki attacks, and a unique type of body transformation and reconfiguration. Izuku began muttering and writing like crazy. That kind of ability is like an unholy blend of Tiger's edge shots and Setsuna's quirks with the elasticity of Tiger, the regeneration and loss of limbs without consequence from Suna, and the body morphing and utilization of edge shot to constrict his foes. The concept of using one's body proportions to their advantage is also something similar to Fat Gum and how his fat absorption quirk works too. Said individuals thought about what Izuku muttered and found he wasn't wrong. Tiger could see the comparison between his pila body to Bu's magical flesh, even if it was both disgusting and disheartening that such power would be used for destruction. Edge shot felt similarly to that sentiment, though pondered if his 1,000 sheet pierce technique would even work on Majin Bu, given it seems like this creature would not have viable organs for him to pierce and render unconscious, and any damage he would do might simply be regenerated instantly. Setsuna likewise was freaked out about the comparison, but then, in a Midoriya-like fashion, she pondered if perhaps there was a way she could use this technique for herself and for good. Usually with her quirk. For offense she mainly launches her body parts like telekinetically tossed rocks onto her enemies that can hit multiple times. The main way she used her quirk to restrict people was her hands, arms and legs. But what if she could do more? It's not like I can combine my body parts into a new shape. They can only conjoin back to how they once were with the corresponding parts, but maybe I don't need them to connect. Setsuna began putting her mind into action, feeling the gears turn in her head. What if I was looking at it all wrong? What if instead of conjoining them by connecting them, I can conjoin them into different shapes by simply the shape and not the full width behind it? An image came to her of multiple body parts coalescing to form the shape of a T-Rex head or a serpent with her parts simply hovering next to each other or stacked on top or over the other. It sounded so ridiculously simple, and yet her mind began exploding like that one meme that it made her grin spread wide and maniacal. Izuku noticed this change in Setsuna and found himself stuck looking at her. Seeing the way her eyes danced around, looking nowhere in particular but gazing like she was solving an equation in her head, the way her subtle facial expressions, from the shifting of her brows, the squirming of her lips, even the wrinkling of her nose, all of which painted an image of how her brain was working, it all was a fascinating sight. Fascinating, cute, and wonderful sight. Yes, and he apparently does feel pain, though it seems to please him. Like some sort of combat masochist, was stated. Fortunately, his body can regenerate almost instantly. He can be blasted to smithereens and reform himself in seconds, Boomstick added. He's practically invincible. Not only does he possess immense power but also holds a regenerative factor as impressive as Deadpool, Tiger noted. Shoo! Don't speak that degenerate's name. He might hear you, Mount Lady whispered panicked. Oh, you can't possibly believe that he might still be aware of our conversation and come pop in? Mandalay raised an eyebrow at the paranoid heroine. The size-changing heroine gazed seriously at Mandalay's eyes, showing the telepathic heroine she was dead serious. As Mandalay re-evaluated her thought process by reminding herself of Deadpool's feats and his actions in the last video, and paled as she begged and prayed that no spandex-wearing mercenary would pop in. Bu can mimic any ki attack after seeing it in action only once, was explained. This is how he learned Goku's Kamehameha Wave and Supreme Kai's instantaneous movement teleport. So, he can also use the Kamehameha and instant transmission. Nijire exclaimed, surprised at the development, especially the former of Goku's abilities. This made Nijire's desire to learn the attack greater after seeing the attack can be learned or mimicked by other people. I'd imagine this is one of the reasons why he was paired against Kirby, Cementos pointed out. Both are pink, seemingly harmless creatures that can copy the abilities of others and possess world-ending power. His ability to copy the abilities of others is also more powerful than my own quirk, Monoma mentioned. My copy quirk only functions after making contact with a person or something that possesses their DNA, like Eraser's hair. This Majin Buu can instead copy techniques by simply looking at them from afar. All Might shuddered as his thoughts turned to All for One. The king of the villain underworld could also only take quirks if he made physical contact with his victims. However, the thought of All for One being able to take quirks from afar, without touching a person, was a rather horrifying possibility that he hoped remained simply that, a possibility. In any case, if he has learned the ability to teleport like Goku, then it could present a problem to Kirby if he can evade Kirby's more powerful attacks or catch up with him, Momo analyzed. But his copying prowess goes even further, Liz continued. He can physically absorb other people, transforming his mind and body. Yes, come to me, Buu declared as his pink flesh absorbed Gotenks and Piccolo, the pink flesh returning and covering Buu. After a brief transformation, Buu's form had changed to reflect that of his captured victims, from Piccolo's height and build to Gotenks' jacket. That's the most disturbing thing I've ever seen, Boomstick muttered, disgusted. I think I see another reason why he and Kirby were chosen to face each other, 13 muttered. That was even more disturbing shit than Kirby just eating people, Kamakiri muttered, gulping down the bile that threatened to come up his throat. Izuku shuddered in disgust and fright. It was one thing for Buu to mimic the techniques and abilities of those he sees. Izuku worried that if he ever faced Buu, the pink monstrosity would only fight like him or be able to mimic the quirks of the vestiges like Black Whip. However, the prospect of potentially being consumed by Buu offered a more horrifying possibility and consequence than simple mimicry. Izuku worried if he ever got consumed by Buu, then it would mean that the Destroyer of Worlds would be able to absorb and even steal one for all, a possibility that would be incredibly horrible to ever come to being that Izuku wished his morbidly analytical mind didn't conjure. Each version of Buu has a different personality based on whom he's absorbed, Liz explained, showing Buu absorbing and transforming into a similar form to one of the Kais. Fat Buu is cheerful and childlike, due to absorbing the carefree Grand Supreme Kai. So, the reason why Buu was so innocent-looking and playful was because he ate that dude? Mineta asked. I guess so, Sato shrugged. But what was he like originally? I believe we are about to find out, Tokoyami morbidly predicted. But then there's his original and most dangerous form, Kid Buu, was revealed the second most recognizable form of the Pink Destroyer of Worlds. Kid Buu, Toru said, looking at the slimmer and angrier-looking pink alien. His eyes even look like yours, Mina, with the same black scara and all. I guess, Mina admitted. Reluctantly though, as the rage and hatred in those eyes was definitely not what she saw whenever she looked in the mirror. He's so tiny. He's like a little kid in MC Hammer pants, Boomstick cooed. This can't seriously be his deadliest form. Kid Buu is pure rage incarnate, Wiz said. Kid Buu screamed out loud to the heavens, pounding his fists onto his chest in a war cry. The raging beast hidden behind the mask of joy and civility, Reiko muttered. A dangerous facsimile of Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll was the mask that the doctor took to appear as a friendly face to society, while Hyde was the evil, rage, and sinful nature he hid within himself. Tokoyami nodded at the apt comparison, something that made Reiko's pale cheeks to turn red. He can get so angry. He's capable of tearing holes in the fabric of reality just by screaming, was noted. Nizu frowned at that particular ability. Not only did it appear a dangerous power that could break the boundaries of time and space in a universe, but Nizu's mind pondered whether this ability could extend to breaking through the barriers of other universes. If such a feat can be attained if sought after, then Buu could attain the ability to traverse through different universes, including our own. Nizu thought grimly, already planning on contingencies on how to eliminate the pink monstrosity if that ever were to come to be. Or if he's fed up with whatever planet he's on, he'll just blow it to bits with his planet burst attack, Boomstick pointed out, showing Bu lifting his palm into the air and forming an orb of pink energy that crashed into the ground and obliterated the planet he was on. That attack looked like a dark parody of Goku's spirit bomb attack, Shoji pointed out, his eyes narrowing. But where Goku's were powered by goodness and harm the evil and sinful, this one is only about destruction. And even if Bu were on the planet he is destroying, he could simply reform, Izuku frowned. In a universe chock full of planet busters, Majin Bu is one of the strongest, was declared. He's destroyed entire galaxies by systematically obliterating each planet one by one over time. Like a genocidal game of dominoes, Shoda frowned, his fists cracking in anger at the horrible feats of Majin Bu. Strengths and feats. Unprecedented amount of combat experience. One-shot Debura. Ripped apart space and time. Eradicated the human race in seconds. Destroyed hundreds of planets. Defeated Gotenks, Vegeta and Gohan. Survived a battle with Vegeto. He's defeated most of Dragon Ball Z's most powerful characters, including Vegeta, Gotenks and Gohan. Boomstick listed Bu's defeated foes. He even beat Vegeta, Kirishima exclaimed in fright and shock. As in rival to Goku Vegeta, Bakugo growled in anger at seeing his counterpart disrespectfully pummeled by the Majin of Destruction. It was a blow to his pride that this pink, overweight buffoon had surrounded his counterpart with his flesh, but to actually beat his planet-destroying counterpart was humiliating. That is frighteningly disturbing. But my question is, who are Gotenks and Gohan? Jiro questioned. They appear to be Scions who are strong enough to become Super Scions, Izuku muttered as he looked through his notes on Goku and Vegeta. From how they look and the names, I think they're Goku's kids. Ah, you mean your counterpart's kids with his wife, Uraraka's counterpart? Setsuna teasingly pointed out. Izuku and Ochako burned crimson at the reminder that their counterparts were married and had kids together. Uraraka began floating off to the ceiling as her thoughts were clouded by images of herself in a wedding dress beside Izuku in a suit, or brown and green-haired kids with round eyes and freckles or perpetual rosy cheeks. He one-shot the king of the demon realm and easily bested the supreme Kais, was continued listing. Who are like the gods of other gods, Boomstick clarified. So needless to say, Bu is pretty frickin' strong. The gods above gods comment brought a frown to Ibera's face, but she wasn't about to start ranting about blasphemy when she was scared of this pink demon. But he's also extremely cocky, caring little about strategy or personal safety, was explained Bu's weaknesses. And while his regenerative ability seems to make him indestructible, Bu is one of the only Dragon Ball characters whose body has been visibly affected by ordinary bullets. So, like he who mustn't be named, Bu's regeneration and ability to come back from anything makes him arrogant enough to not take any fight seriously, Pixie Bob said, pointedly trying not to name a certain merc with a mouth. Fat Gum frowned at the similarity that he found with Bu tanking bullets from the police, as that is how it often looks when his fat absorbed bullets from criminals. And while being able to destroy planets, his body's not tough enough to take the explosion, forcing him to regenerate from a mass of pink particles, Boomstick added. Looks like you were right, Press, Tetsu said. If he can be able to tank a planet-busting explosion and reform from that, Kirby is going to have a hell of a time facing him. Despite having the mind of a child and the body of Play-Doh, Majin Bu might just be the deadliest villain in Dragon Ball history, was summarized the Majin of Destruction. Me get big M.A. ADDDDD. Majin Bu screamed, a massive explosion of energy surrounding him and eclipsing the planet in his fury. Overall, Majin Bu was definitely the more consistently ominous and terrifying foe of the two fighters, with the Majin's planet-destroying feats, disturbing absorption, and horrifying abilities and possibilities that emerged from the minds of the group. It was clearly evident that there would be no one asking for a plushie of the pink monster, even his fat form. Alright, the combatants are set, was announced. Let's end this debate once and for all. It's time for a death battalion. Boomstick roared out. The group began to vote among themselves as the device paused the video and began searching for counterparts to the two fighters. It would take a bit longer since some were forced to choose between one pink demon over another, as well as classic biases against cute and villainous behavior. Ultimately, those who favored Kirby's chances of victory included Eri, who could never vote against the cute and cuddly being her plushie was based on Izuku and Mirio. Half of their reasoning being behind supporting Eri and the other half being Kirby's range of abilities through his copy abilities and frighteningly strong feats, and All Might, who chose the more, relatively, heroic fighter compared to the planet-destroying, body and power-absorbing monster that reminded him of All for One. Tamaki and Nijire would join Mirio and Izuku in voting for the puffball, Nijire's reasons following more along the lines of supporting Kirby's adorableness, and Tamaki because he better related his manifest quirk with Kirby's inhale and copy ability than Boo's. Mina and Ochiko likewise voted for the pink puffball, though it was admittingly hard for the former. Even if Bu was a genocidal psychopathic monster, it was still hard to vote against a literal pink alien, at least for Mina. Though Kirby's status of likewise being an alien to Popstar, his dance moves and adorableness made it so that Kirby took the vote from her. Ochiko admittingly voted for Kirby on an adorableness factor too, but also was inspired by Kirby's floating powers and maneuverability. Jiro and Kamakiri would also reluctantly vote for the savior of Popstar, the latter, because Kirby was the only one of the two who wielded a sword and was capable of slicing apart enemies with ease, and the former because she had to give props to Kirby for being able to kill people with his singing alone. Fat Gum was one of the first who voted for Kirby, his now appointed Great Pink One and Master who he strived to mimic, and Kirishima followed in his in turn hero's footsteps thanks to Stone Kirby and Kirby's amazing durability, with Tetsu not far behind in voting for the same reasons. Lastly, Nizu would vote for the deceivingly monstrous, round, pink creature, all the while chuckling maniacally. As for those who voted for Majin Buu's victory, among them included Bakugu, who while his counterpart was defeated by Bu, that was also the reason he voted for the Planet Destroyer, as if it validated that Majin Buu was so strong and would easily beat Kirby by comparison. Endeavor, Edgeshot, and Ida would all too vote for the Majin of Destruction, finding his level of power capable of defeating Goku's rival to be an impressive enough feat on its own, and every ability and feat only compounded the reason for their vote more and more. Kuta also voted for Bu, finding him cooler and more badass than Kirby, who looked too childish to his liking. Majin Buu's astonishing regeneration and body morphing abilities persuaded a vote from Setsuna, the former likewise garnering a vote from Momo, as well as his version of copying and absorption. His absorption and copying power and his mimicry skills garnered a vote from Monoma and Ragdoll, with the two finding that Bu could mimic potentially Kirby's abilities on top of his own. Miruko voted for Bu because he appeared more capable of fighting traditionally compared to Kirby even with a fighter form, and even eagerly pondered how it would be like for Bu to mimic her moves and force her to fight herself. And Sato would vote, persuaded by Bu being able to turn people and objects into candy, which would be detrimental to Kirby if he was hit by it even once. Buu's malleable body gained Tiger's vote, and his Jekyll and Hyde comparison, as well as hidden raging darkness and rage added votes from Tokoyami and Reiko. After all the voting was done, the group realized that the device was still processing its search. It was unusual. The group had gotten used to the device finishing its counterpart search, just as they finished their voting process, like the device knew to display its results after they were done. Now, however, the device was still processing and continued to do that for another few minutes. "Oh, come on. What is taking so long?" Mount Lady groaned impatiently. "Must you act like a bratty child as well as an attention whore?" Midnight snarked at her rival. "Who are you calling an attention whore, you dollar store dominatrix?" Mount Lady barked back to clash eyes with her older rival, though secretly enjoying that said rival was acting better than she had been recently. Their back-and-forth jabs and remarks had become something that Takayama had found fun and special between her and Kayama, and they were the best way she figured to distract and cheer up Midnight from the funk that she had recently been in. "All right, enough from the two of you." Ryukyu stood between the two like a motherly figure, even if Midnight was her elder. "Though Lady has a point," Miruko pointed out, taking a bite of a carrot. "The thing is taking noticeably longer than any other time." Isn't that odd? Now that you mention it, it is, David Shield muttered. The one time it took this long was back during the Batman vs. Captain America fight. The one where it revealed Midoriya as another potential counterpart to the Batman, Endeavor noted. You believe that this implies that multiple counterparts are being registered by the device? Before David Shield could respond, the device beeped as it finished its search, as if responding itself to Endeavor's question. Multiversal counterparts detected. The device voiced its completion, starting off with Kirby. Kirby. Multiversal counterpart 1. Eri. Counterpart probability. 20%. Yay! Eri squealed as she hugged the plushie of her now revealed counterpart. I'm Kirby. I'm Kirby. Isn't that amazing, Papa? It sure is, Eri-chan. Izuku patted his surrogate daughter. Counterpart 1, Momo muttered. It does appear that there will be multiple counterparts to Kirby. Though, I am curious that it would start off with Ares if her counterpart probability is so low. Multiversal counterpart number 2. Izuku Midoriya. Counterpart probability. 20%. A fucking course. Bakuga rolled his eyes, annoyed that his rival was constantly the counterpart of multiple individuals, especially powerful ones that appear to be like the main characters of their worlds. It brought a sting to Bakuga's pride, as if the universe itself was basically stating that Izuku was the main character of their world too, not him. Ooh, Midori. I knew that you were cute, but I never thought that cuteness would make you counterparts to that adorable, terrifying little thing. Mina leaned in, teasing the shocked teen while her fingers wiggled greedily at pinching and abusing Izuku's cheeks like Uraraka's. See cute. Izuku yelped, blushing madly. Multiversal counterpart number 3. Ochiko Uraraka. Counterpart probability. 20%. I knew it. Azui croaked, nodding at the results. Ochiko blushed crimson at Azui's words. It wasn't that obvious. Ochiko pouted. Ochiko, girl, you have the same rosy round cheeks and can float around like him. Hagakure pointed out the similarities. Plus, whenever we go to the market, you hound the free samples like you were fasting. Ochiko's blush only grew redder. You promised you wouldn't mention that, Ochiko exclaimed. The students laughed, and Ochiko buried her face in her hands to hide her shame and blush. And they were free, Ochiko muttered quietly. Izuku sighed fondly at Ochiko's personality, knowing that with her poor background, the concept of anything free or cheap would be a godsend. It was frankly adorable with how excited she could get. Izuku patted and rubbed his best friend's back to her further blushing and joy. I'm starting to see a trend, Itsuka pointed out. Eri, Midoriya, and Uraraka all have the same 20% probability. Huh, yeah, that is weird, Setsuna noticed and nodded. It's like they all have so many similar qualities that the universe itself couldn't decide which one is better suited to be Kirby. Given that all three have probabilities of 20%, I surmise that we might have 2 more Kirby counterparts with the same probability at this rate, Shota calculated. Multiversal counterpart number 4. Mina Ashido. Counterpart probability. 20%. Woohoo. Yes. Pink in one world. Pink in every world. Mina cheered, her chest raised in pride. Izuku had to slap Minetta's face away with Black Whip as the pervert was staring at Mina's pronounced large assets while scolding himself to not look as well. Honestly, it fits so well it would be weird if she wasn't a counterpart to Kirby. Kirishima shrugged. Not only are they pink, but they both seem to have a knack for making friends and being perpetually cheerful. Ah, Kiri, give Mama some sugar. Mina cooed and ran to Kirishima to bring him into a hug with a comical kissy face. Not until you stop referring to yourself as Mama. Kirishima blocked Mina's path by planting his hand over her face, stalling Mina's path as she waved her hands toward him. Izuku chuckled, softly smiling at the two's friendship with one another. If he were as insecure as he was in his younger years like an Aldra, he would probably feel uneasy and worried about how close those two were, probably jealous, but Izuku wasn't like that. He could tell the two cared about each other deeply, but more in a brother-sister kind of vibe. Izuku was unsure if this calculation of his was marred by reassuring himself that Mina did have feelings for him, especially after recent revelations, but Izuku chose to confide in it rather than worry like a jealous prick. "Looks like your guess seems accurate, Shoda," Hananuki muttered. "If there is to be one last counterpart to round out the probabilities, who do you suppose it will be?" Jiroda asked the other students. "Why, of course it will be me." Monoma proudly stood, hand over heart, as he held a smug look of assurance. "After all, with our similar copying abilities and potential for greatness, it should be obvious. The way you say that makes it sound like you're saying that Greenie, Uraraka, and Ishido also have potential greatness," Setsuna pointed out. "Silence!" Monoma barked, red in the face. Multiversal counterpart number 5. Tamaki Amajiki. Counterpart probability 20%. Aha! I knew it! Mirio thrust his fists into the air, victorious. Copying is one thing, but eating and manifesting their attributes is just like our man, Sun Eater here. Mirio wrapped an arm around the shocked third year. "Yeah, isn't that awesome, Tamaki? You and Zuzu have such a strong and cute counterpart. I'm kind of jealous." "Titi, thanks," Tamaki stuttered, blushing at the praise from his friends, but smiled nonetheless. "Tamaki!" The yell was all the warning that the paling Sun Eater had before his mentor, Fat Gum, rushed in and wrapped him in a bone-crushing hug. "I knew I made the right choice with you as my intern and protege. I am so proud of you." Fat Gum was bawling rivers of tears as he suffocated his intern into his fat and broke his bones with his hug. "You were saying, discount Mega Man?" Setsuna teased the shocked and fuming Monoma. "Honestly, it's like you're asking the universe for this." Itsuka shook her head at her classmate, who sat back down in an embarrassed and wounded huff. "Majin Bu. Multiversal counterpart. Taishiro Toyomitsuke Fat Gum." "Huh!" Kirishima exclaimed in shock and horror. "How is that possible? I know Fat is well large, but how can he be that monster's counterpart?" Majin Bu. Multiversal counterpart. Tenko Shimura aka Tomura Shigaraki. Many of the group froze at the sight of the infamous leader of the League of Villains. Ochiko paled as she remembered the villain from when he had threatened Izuku with his hand on his neck in the mall, and Azui shivered in fright as touched the sides of her face, feeling the phantom touches of Shigaraki's hands on her face back at the USJ, where she would have been decayed to dust if Aizawa hadn't cancelled the villain's quirk. The Sisterhood girls all also recalled the video from last night, showcasing Shigaraki and how he appeared to have some connection or fated rivalry with Izuku from how the video portrayed the two as similar to All Might and All for One. Momo still recalled when Shigaraki was shown in the video to have platinum white hair compared to his usual grayish blue, and how Izuku was shown fighting against this newly transformed Shigaraki with black whip and floating in the air. It still didn't make sense, because Izuku had never displayed the ability to float like that or mentioned clashing against Shigaraki after unlocking Black Whip, unless he was hiding such an encounter taking place during his internship with Endeavor. Or unless the event hasn't happened yet. Momo thought as the possibility she came up with back when she watched the video still seemed like the most evident and likely conclusion, especially when the video also showed other potentially future events like a depressed and battle-worn Izuku over a bleak city. The Kugu growled in hatred as he stared at the bastard that orchestrated his kidnapping at the training camp, which led to the whole situation that would lead to All Might's retirement. Mineta paled and shivered in absolute terror at the horrible villain that nearly killed him, Azui, and Midoriya in the USJ with his Nomu and quirk. Hawks felt a bead of sweat drop down his angry face as he stared at the new leader of the Paranormal Liberation Front. Truthfully, he hadn't seen the bastard in some time, as meetings that he had with the leadership of the PLF didn't include him, and any questions about where their leader was met with curt and brief excuses like having a doctor's appointment or training to get better, whatever they meant. All Might held a conflicted look at seeing the face of his mentor/mother figure's grandson, the boy who was taken and molded into a villain by All for One somehow and turned to despise him and society as a whole. Gran Torino's words echoed in his mind that he should stop seeing him as Nana's grandson, as it was clouding his judgment on how to handle him. For all that he was Shimura's grandson, he was also Shigaraki, leader of League of Villains, now more so after AFO's imprisonment, and a dangerous villain who attacked UA and its students multiple times, kidnapped Bakugo, threatened to kill Midoriya, and killed numerous people, either by his hand or those the League or their nomas. He needed to be brought to justice. His past meant nothing if Toshinori allowed him to end others' futures. Izuku paled at the sight of Shigaraki. His feelings of dread regarding him returning, along with the phantom touch of his fingers wrapped around his neck. His last words to him back in the mall repeated in his head, from his crazed declaration of blame and hatred toward All Might with that hideous smiling face, and his threatening words that the next time they meet, he will kill him. Izuku was also told by All Might about Shigaraki's real identity as Tenko Shimura, the grandson of Nana Shimura, the seventh user of One for All. Izuku could even feel a well of despair and sadness from inside him that he knew wasn't his own. It was Nana herself, and Izuku felt so sorry for her, that she could not find peace even after her death with this information. And yet, whenever Izuku remembers Shigaraki's eyes, he can't see the strong and kind eyes of Shimura, only eyes of rage incarnate. Rage incarnate. Like Kid Buu. Izuku's mind caught that distinction, a light bulb forming in his mind. That's it. What's it? Tetsu questioned. I think I know why it said why Fat Gum was Fat Buu's counterpart or why Buu has two counterparts at all, Izuku said. It's because the device isn't really comparing Fat Gum to Fat Buu at all. I'm confused, how does that make sense? Sen asked, utterly lost. Sorry, but what I mean is that the device is comparing Fat Gum not to Buu himself but rather the personality that made Fat Buu, the Grand Supreme Kai, Izuku explained. The Grand Supreme Kai? You mean the one that Buu consumed? Momo asked. Exactly, Izuku nodded. Whis said that every form that Buu takes has a personality that matches whoever he consumes, while Kid Buu is supposed to be his original form and Shigaraki is his counterpart. But no one character has ever had more than one counterpart in the same universe. What about the whole 5 people being counterparts with Kirby we just had? Kaminari pointed out. Hell, you started this whole thing with you also being Batman like Mr. Aizawa. But that's because I'm Batman in another universe while Aizawa is Batman in others. Just like how I might be Kirby in some universes, while in others Eri, Ochiko and Mina and Tamaki may be Kirby, Izuku pointed out. In those separate universes, that character would still have one counterpart to match, not multiple. If the rules applied are the same here, then Buu can't have more than one counterpart in one universe. I see. Nizu rubbed his chin. You propose that rather than Buu having multiple counterparts for every personality, that it is a distinction born only of that his personalities bearing counterparts are really the counterparts of those he consumed. In a roundabout way, yeah, kind of. Izuku rubbed his neck at the summary of his words. As Izuku finished, the device spoke up with, affirmative. Fat Buu counterpart is registered as such as the soul of the Grand Supreme Kai remains as a part of Fat Buu's personality and still exists within this form. Grand Supreme Kai. Multiversal counterpart. Taishiro Toimitsuke Fat Gum. Phew, okay, that makes sense. Kirishima sighed in relief. I didn't want to think that my boss was somehow a genocidal monster. No way in hell, Red Riot. Fat Gum patted his chest. No evil bone in his large body of mind. As the group eased their minds about the confusion they faced, Miruko still held a contemplative look on her face as she was so busy in her thoughts that she didn't hear anything that was happening around her. This was because she was still busy thinking about Tomura Shigaraki, or rather his true name as the device revealed, Tenko Shimura. Sure, she heard it before back when he was revealed as Malbogia's counterpart, but that wasn't exactly on her radar after the craziness that was the explanation of why Midoriya was both Kratos and Spawn. Now it finally registered to her. Tenko Shimura. Shimura. Like Nana Shimura. Miruko thought to herself. She had kept it to herself, but she was a big fan of Nana Shimura. Hero codename, Nimbus. The woman was a big source of inspiration for Miruko at a young age, both as a strong and powerful hero and as a muscular and confident woman. and she was as much an idol to her as Midoriya was to All Might. Nimbus's carefree and confident nature inspired her own, and even initially competed in underground rings as Tiger Bunny before switching career paths to being a hero like Shimura. She was silent when All Might revealed that Shimura was his mentor, though inside she was giddy at the prospect of knowing someone who had personally trained with her idol. Over the past few days, aside from watching these videos, training the Hero Course students, contemplating her strange attraction to Midoriya, and analyzing multiple fighters and their skills, Miruko had also been devising a plan to get All Might to tell her more about Shimura. Despite being her idol, Miruko had no idea why Nimbus suddenly departed from the hero scene. One minute she was there and then the next she was gone. Rumi didn't know if she quietly retired or if she... Miruko didn't like to think of that option, but she would be a fool to believe it wasn't a possibility for a hero like her to just disappear out of the blue. Now, however, it turns out that Tomura Shigaraki, the leader of the League of Villains, his real name turned out to be Tenko Shimura, and Miruko did not like the implication that last name meant. Did it mean that this guy was related to Nimbus? Was he her son, grandson, distant cousin? Whatever the answer, Miruko hoped that the truth that it was simply a coincidence of last names, because the alternative was that a member of her hero's family had become one of the country's most infamous villains and was disgracing her name and legacy, and that made Miruko angry. After a few seconds of reading themselves, the video began again and played the battle. The scene began with a bright day in the Kingdom of Dreamland, in what appeared to be green greens. A multitude of different citizens from Waddle Dees, Waddle Deuce, and Knuckle Joes were all enjoying the good day, either walking around or simply standing. A Bonkers was sleeping peacefully, and two Waddle Deuce were dancing with each other. Ah, they all look so cute, Hagakure cooed. Especially those light-tanned ones. And peace ruined in 3, 2, 1 Setsuna counted down. Suddenly, a pink beam descended from the heavens like a bolt of lightning. One of the innocent dancing Waddle Deuce was turned into a piece of cake, while its friend stared at its friend frozen and wide-eyed. Pony yelped at the unfortunate fate of the Waddle Doo. Ha, isn't every day that your friend gets smited into cake, Sato said pale. Wouldn't the correct term be smoked? Kominari asked. Nah, I think it's smitten, Mineta replied. Really? I thought that meant being smitten with someone. Zero scratched his head. Ugh, who cares? Just shut up so we can begin the carnage. Bakugo exploded, officially wasting the last of his patience with these idiots. The camera moved up to reveal the source of the laser. Hello! Majin Buu, in his fat form, called out to the Dreamland residents from above. The residents looked up at Buu with wide-eyed, frozen terror. Buu then struck one of the Waddle Dees with his chocolate beam, turning it into pudding. Finally getting the picture, the rest of the citizens began running around and fleeing in panic, screaming and wailing in fear as more beams came descending from above. Buu continued firing chocolate beams left and right, hitting multiple targets before shooting one at the camera. Izuku's fists clenched tightly. Even if it was Fat Buu doing this, who the analysis made it seem was clueless, his random and uncaring attack on the resident of Dreamland reminded him too much of Shigaraki, as if the aspect that was counterpart to the League of Villains leader was directing this senseless act of destruction and gluttony. Fat Gum growled too, with the knowledge that this form of Buu came about by consuming his counterpart. This form then attacking and turning innocent creatures into treats to eat was both horrifying, disgusting, and insulting to the large hero. When color returned to the screen, it showed Buu floating mid-air, laughing and cheering delightfully at all of the resident civilians turned into various sweets hovering near him. Me gonna eat you up, Buu cheered excitedly. All Might flinched at that laugh. It sounded like a more childish version of Shigaraki's demented laugh. Buu picked up one of the nearby chocolate bars and threw it into the air in an attempt to catch it in his mouth. But before it could fall into his mouth, a sudden strong wind, accompanied by an infamous suction sound, pulled the chocolate bar and all of the food away from him. The food was all sucked up and swallowed by the hero of Dreamland riding his warp star. Kirby gulped all the recently turned food with a look of satisfaction on his face. Oh, Kirby stole his meal, Mina teasingly voiced. a look of mischief on her face at what her counterpart did. Does he know that all of the food was Dreamland residents? Momo questioned, a comical drop of sweat running down her head. From what we've seen of him, I don't think he would notice or care, Kyoka shrugged. Byu was shocked at the arrival and act. When it fully registered to his toddler-sized mind, his pink face turned red from outrage, steam hissing out his ear holes. You make Byu mad, Byu pointed accusingly at Kirby, as the two readied for their fight. You make you dead. There is something deeply unsettling about someone with the mind of a child proclaiming that. Midnight unintentionally shivered. Now you know how it felt facing Shigaraki back in the USJ, All Might muttered. Fight. The two fighters rushed at each other, colliding their punches together. The two continued to trade and block the other's punches before Kirby knocked Byu back with a kick. Kirby jumped from his warp star and attempted a downward kick that Byu blocked. Kirby tried to follow it up with a punch, but the Majin of Destruction evaded with a teleport, striking in retaliation with a blast of fire from his mouth that struck Kirby. Kirby crashed to the ground, groaning in pain. When he got up, he realized he was next to a bonkers. Oh boy, R.I.P. to him. Aways made a sign of the cross for the poor bonkers. Classic wrong place, wrong time, Sin sighed. The hammer-wielding creature took notice and tried to skedaddle away comically, only for Kirby to use his inhale ability. A strong force of sucking wind halted the bonkers in mid-run before he was consumed, transforming the pink puffball into Hammer Kirby. Byu descended from the skies, yelling as he charged at Hammer Kirby. Ha! Kirby huffed as he reared his new hammer back, preparing to swing. Just as Byu arrived right at Kirby, the hammer-wielding puffball swung, striking Byu and sending him flying. That was quite the accurate counter, Edge Shot complimented. From what is essentially an infant. An infant that saved his whole planet multiple times and is a remorseless cannibal, Miruko reminded him. Fair enough, Edge Shot sighed. Byu crashed with a huff of pain at the side of a hill, and before the Majin could recover, a hammer was thrown in his face, courtesy of the hero of Dreamland. That was kind of funny. Ochiko clasped her hands in front of her mouth, trying to muffle her chuckles. It would have hurt more and been funnier if it was a frying pan, Mirio pointed out. Personal experience. Izuku sarcastically asked with a soft smile at his surrogate older brother, to which he laughed boisterously. Kirby arrived quickly and retrieved his hammer, slamming Byu further down the hill to the solid flat ground. Kirby performed a spinning cyclone with his hammer, dragging Byu upward with him with a flurry of hammer strikes. Afterward, Kirby knocked the Destroyer of Worlds high in the sky, at which point the round pink creature hopped onto a newly created warp star. As the sounds of a rapidly falling object approached, Kirby readied himself. As Byu came down, Kirby struck twice in rapid succession, knocking Byu flying back and bouncing off a large tree. Kirby zoomed at light speed with the warp star above Byu and struck again, sending him flying back against the wall. Kirby flew in again and slammed his hammer down, pounding Byu flat against the ground. Jesus. He went ham on him, Kaminari hissed. I'd say he'd beaten him pink and silly, but he already is. Proud of yourself for that one, huh? Kyoka raised an eyebrow at him. I sure am. And you can't tell me that wasn't clever. Kaminari pointed accusingly and victoriously at Jiro. Meh, a broken clock is right twice a day. Jiro shrugged and turned away, not interested. Kaminari faltered and froze comically, wondering how she managed to wound him with just words. It seems clear that Kirby seems to possess the advantage in speed with how quickly he pressured Byu into multiple attacks, Ryukyu mentioned. His warp star seemed to contribute immensely to reaching where he launched Byu toward. However, Byu stretched and popped himself back up, almost completely unscathed. Hoo-hoo! Byu chuckled, warping behind Kirby in an instant. The Majin of Destruction grabbed the off-guard Kirby, making him drop his hammer. Byu roughly slammed Kirby into the ground with a punch. The world around them grew black and slow motion as Kirby lost his copy ability in a puff of stars. Despite all that damage, it looks like he barely got a scratch on him, Fat Gum muttered, admittingly impressed and acknowledging why he was initially compared to Fat Bu. And it took only one solid hit from his opponent for Kirby to lose his hammer ability. Vlad King frowned. If Kirby is to use his abilities more, he will have to focus on evasion and speed to dodge and attack as quickly as possible. Bu uppercut Kirby into the air, before warping up to the skyward hero of Dreamland and slamming into him and sending them both elsewhere. The scene transitioned into a forest with two Blade Knights, a Knuckle Joe, a Waddle Dee, and Waddle Doo just walking around. Kirby slammed into a tree and landed on the ground, frightening the residents with his infamous appearance. As the civilians tried to flee, Kirby proceeded to inhale one unfortunate Blade Knight, becoming Sword Kirby. And down goes another poor soul, Jirota sighed. Ironically, it looked like the hero among the fighters was the one killing innocent bystanders compared to the villain. At least, Bu turned them into pastries. At least non-sentient pastries, I hope. Wait a moment. Isn't this against the rules of death battle? Kozai spoke up. I mean, one of the rules stated that they can't use outside help. And yet Kirby is using quite a lot of those guys to transform into his forms. To be fair, they were just bystanders of this fight and weren't directly aiding either Kirby or Bu. So I don't think that is an infraction, Hananuki argued. Majin Bu arrived with a cheer, as Sword Kirby charged up his attack, energy gathering into his blade. Yee! Kirby yelled as he slashed through a black screen. The black of the screen gave way to reveal Kirby slashing Majin Bu in half at the waist. Excellent! Kamakiri grinned in approval. Bu's upper half landed flat on the ground while his lower half fell over. Wah! You hurt Bu! Bu cried like a baby. Suddenly, his two cut have squashed back together. No sign of the cut apparent. Almost. Kirby's response was a facepalm. Unfortunately, he is, as one would say, speaking my language. Momo sighed, pinching the bridge between her eyes. Regeneration for the win, Setsuna chirped, displaying herself splitting in two and reattaching like Bu. A Blade Knight ran past Kirby in a panic. Bu noticed and giggled deviously, sending a blob of his flesh after the fleeing swordsman. The Blade Knight screamed and ran for his life, though in vain as the pink flesh consumed him with a splat. The pink blob of flesh returned to Bu, granting the jolly pink giant a sword of his own. Yaya! Bu cheered, hopping gleefully. Yep, still more disturbing than what Kirby does, Kamakiri groaned, his eye twitching in disgust. I must agree with you, Kamakiri. Ibera gulped down her lunch. How revolting! In an instant, Sword Kirby rushed toward the newly armed Bu, the two clashing swords against each other. On the plus side, sword fight time. Hell yeah! Kamakiri roared. And now you lost me, Ibera sighed. A comical throb of anger made itself known on Bakuga's forehead, unaware of why he felt such annoyance at Kamakiri being so chummy with Ibera, but he didn't like it, and not knowing why he even cared made him even more angry. Bu swatted Kirby back with his sword. The two slashed at each other again before Kirby performed a series of spinning slashes that Bu blocked, sparks bouncing off their metal blades. Finally, though, Kirby found an opening and slashed at Bu's body a few times. Before the puffball could impale the World Destroyer, Bu dodged and grabbed Kirby and kicked him into the air, following up with a few sword slashes of his own, and finished with a punch that sent Kirby flying. Looks like without the Warp Star, their speed looks evenly matched, Hawk smirked, his nonchalant eyes looking to the group like he was lazily watching, but he was analyzing and memorizing their swordsmanship as he imagined himself mimicking them with his feather swords. Kirby yelped as he landed and slid down the tree. Kirby heard the sound of a fast-approaching object and ducked just in time. Kirby looked wide-eyed as Majin Bu missed his slash at Kirby but cut the tree in half. Yikes. Good thing he dodged when he did. Kirishima wiped his brow of that nervous sweat. His reaction time is rather impressive, Shoji nodded. Must be from his time riding his Warp Star at such high speeds. Kirby kicked the blade out of Bu's hand, launching his opponent into the air with rapid sword slashes. Yah! Kirby cried repeatedly as he likewise repeated his rising slashes, dragging Bu further upward. Finally, Kirby ended his long combo by grabbing Bu and suplex him down to the ground, roughly. Now that's what I'm talking about. Kamakiri cheered. I'm pretty sure that isn't how physics worked. Pixie Bob pointed at the screen. Like physics would apply realistically with these two. Ragdoll laughed. Physics flew out the window a long time ago. Sadly, Tomoko is right. Mandalay sighed tiredly. Hold up, I thought that Kirby loses his copied abilities when he gets hits? Rin asked. He does, why do you ask? Bondo asked. Well, he got slashed a couple of times by Bu before he got punched into that tree pretty hard, Rin pointed out. Shouldn't he have lost his ability on the first sword hit? I also recall that Boomstick claimed that one good hit could rid Kirby of his copy abilities, Monoma replied, rubbing his chin. I'd imagine that implies that as long as the strikes that Kirby receives aren't too damaging, he can retain his copied abilities. I guess, Shinso shrugged. Though, I would have thought that a solid punch that can send you flying into a tree meters away would count. Bu warped a few meters away from Kirby, charging himself up with energy, and fired his chocolate beam in a power beam of pink energy. Kirby ducked, flattening himself as much as possible while watching, wide-eyed, as the beam traveled above him. The beam continued until it struck a boulder, transforming it into a cream caramel. Kirby looked at the sight, frightened, farting, and losing his sword ability. Bahahaha! He farted himself in fear. Kuta burst out laughing, hugging his sides. You! Eri pouted, pinching her nose as if she could smell the fart. Bad Kirby. Farts are stinky. Eri turned to her plushie like it was the offender. She clicked the button on its paw. Hoyo! Plushie Kirby exclaimed. Eri squealed in response and hugged the plushie. All forgiven and forgotten. Wahoo! Bu roared as he fired his chocolate beam again. However, this time, Kirby opened his mouth wide and inhaled the beam of energy, the pink laser disappearing into the void that was Kirby's stomach. What the bullshit is this? Bakugu exclaimed in outrage. He ate the beam. That was quite the risk. All Might rubbed his chin. If his mouth were any smaller and strayed to touch the beam, he likely could have been turned into a pastry. Kirby kept inhaling, the strong force of wind growing stronger as it reached Bu. Gah! No! Majin Bu cried out as he was pulled along with his beam and toward Kirby's mouth. Next thing he knew, the screen turned black as he was swallowed by Kirby. The group stared shocked at the sudden and unexpected turn of events. MHA ate him too. Ida stuttered as he watched, wide-eyed and in disbelief. Is that over? Achiko asked hopefully. Did Kirby win? I don't think so, Izuku answered, having a bad feeling about this. Not yet, at least. Bu suddenly found himself floating inside a dimension full of space, stars, and all manner of food and treats. He's in Kirby's stomach pocket dimension, Nijire gasped. Which is a sentence that I never thought I would say. Isn't life funny like that? Believe me, Nijire, there's lots in my life I never thought possible happening. Izuku sighed tiredly. Nijire smiled at him, though that smile faltered as she and the girls saw much of what Izuku had experienced, at least during his time in UA. And the rest from before UA. She was starting to form a bad picture of what kind of hell her love had to deal with. NNO. Majin Bu angrily smacked away a piece of cake inside Kirby's stomach dimension. His race burned red and pink steam escaped and spread all along the pocket dimension. Eventually, out of that pink smoke, Kid Bu appeared, separated from himself. Izuku's eyes widened. Oh no! Kid Bu laughed at himself being freed, warping toward his doppelganger and grabbing him. In a roar, Kid Bu destroyed his fat version in a burst of fire and smoke. Did he just blow himself up? 13 questioned, scratching at the dome of her suit. I suppose the way he forms his other forms, or at least his original form, is somewhat similar to my quirk, Ectoplasm figured. Though that has never happened with my clones. Thank God for you, Snipe chuckled. Though what is he even going to do now? Mount Lady asked. He's still literally stuck in his Kirby's stomach. As his doppelganger was destroyed, Kid Buu roared and laughed angrily, pounding on his chest like an animal. The scene transitioned to the skies above Dreamland, where Kid Buu's roar was suddenly heard. Finally, a tear began to open up in space, and from it, Kid Buu emerged, laughing at his escape. What just happened?" Mina exclaimed, confused and shocked. "One of the abilities that Wizard revealed during Buu's analysis," Mizu answered. He stated that Kid Buu can tear apart holes in the fabric of reality with his rage and scream alone. He must have done this to tear open a hole to which to escape Kirby's stomach. Wait, would that mean that anything that Kirby eats could fall out from that hole too? David Shields scratched his head at the quantum physics of this. Kirby began to panic as Kid Buu teleported from behind and slammed into him. The true form of Buu began pummeling Dreamland's hero with multiple strikes before a powerful kick sent Kirby flying. Warping to where Kirby would fly toward, Kid Buu slammed Kirby onto the ground with an elbow drop. "He's gotten much faster now that he ascended to his true form," Hound Dog growled. "And more ruthless. Now that's what I'm talking about," Miruko repeated Kamakiri's words. Now satisfied her fighter was in her element, Kid Buu teleported into the sky, his form in a lazy slump as he raised his hand and summoned a large shocking ball attack. "Ha ha ha!" Buu laughed maniacally, firing the shocking ball attack at Kirby. The warp star appeared out of nowhere and picked up Kirby just when the shocking ball attack struck the ground. Kirby recovered the warp star, spotting a Knuckle Joe running nearby. Kirby swallowed him and transformed into Fighter Kirby, bumping his fists together. "Manly!" Kirishima cried out. Miruko grinned. Even though she was rooting for Buu to win, she couldn't help but feel excited to see how Fighter Kirby would turn out, and see how well it could match up if she fought the real Kirby. "Ha ha 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 ha!" Kid Buu laughed tauntingly in presumed victory. His stretchy body was shaking and stretching inhumanly in a weird dance. "That's creative." Mina sweat dropped, unsure of whether to compliment or be grossed out by Buu's unique dance moves. "I forbid you from ever trying that," Mandalay assumed a bossy tone and told Tiger. "As you say, Captain." Tiger sighed and did a mock salute. While he was busy dancing and laughing, Fighter Kirby appeared and gave a surprise kick to Buu's face. Just like the analysis said, once in this form, Kid Buu suffers from a debilitating cockiness, Endeavor said. While it may not bode well for him here, it would be a boon to us should this creature, or something similar to it, find itself on our doorstep. "Gods help us if one does," Edgeshot prayed. Fighter Kirby continued his surprise assault by grabbing Kid and slamming him onto the ground. "Go Hoken!" Kirby launched a ball of energy similar to a certain martial artist's signature attack. Kid Buu dodged the fireball by stretching his body like a tarp and blowing into the air above. Kid Buu teleported to behind Kirby, but the martial arts puffball parried the punch and blocked the subsequent rapid-fire strike from Buu. "Go Hoken!" Kirby fired another fireball to pause Buu's attacks. "Shoryu Reppa. He's fighting like Ryu," Izuku gasped. "Wow, no wonder you're one of his counterparts, Midori." Mina teasingly pinches Izuku's cheeks. "You know, other than being the most adorable powerful of us." "Mina, don't sell yourselves so short." Izuku lightly swatted her pinching fingers and rubbed his cheek. "You and the others are plenty powerful as well. Your acid in the right viscosity can be incredibly deadly, but you use it, your flexibility, and your dance moves to be a powerful and unpredictable opponent. Then there's Ochiko, who can launch a meteor storm of debris of enemies, and her martial arts skills from Gunhead make her a terror up close. Amajiki's manifest is also incredibly versatile with how many animal combinations he can use, and dash asterisk mutter asterisk asterisk mutter asterisk. Izuku quickly devolved into a muttering storm as he continued to list all of his fellow Kirby counterparts' skills and strengths. Even Ares. While Mina's sweat dropped at causing this with her comment, she did smile lovingly at how serious and truthful Izuku was in complimenting and praising them more than himself, something all the more amazing and speaking of his humbleness when witnessing his feats in that video. It made her love the green cinnamon roll even more. Achiko and Amajiki likewise appreciated Izuku's praise for them. Amajiki saw it similar to how Mirio did, with compliments and praises that were pure and honest, as blindingly bright as the very sun, a light he wished to shine as brightly, if not brighter. He chuckled at how similar Midoriya and Mirio were, and would never mind referring to either as his brothers in all but blood. Achiko's blush grew at Izuku's praises of her, sighing wistfully at one day being able to just as wonderful as he was, as kind and as heroic. Eri was in awe of her papa's analysis, even of her quirk, a quirk she often thought a curse, thanks to Overhaul, but it was her papa that made her see her curse as a blessing that aided him in defeating and saving her from Overhaul and inspires her to master her quirk to help others, like her uncle Mirio. As cute as he often is like this dash. Mina grabbed Izuku by the face and planted her lips on his cheek, freezing the green-haired teen in place. Mina stepped back and ended the kiss on his cheek, turning and staring at Izuku's wide eyes. There. That get you to shut up? Izuku nodded dumbly. Good. Next time we can maybe use that blabbermouth of yours for more active uses. Izuku's blush finally registered and went supernova at the implication of one of his crushes. Meanwhile, Mineta was currently seething in jealousy. No fair. No fair. No fair. Not only Hado-senpai, Uraraka, Shield, and even Yaoyorozu, but also the pink bombshell Mina. Mineta exclaimed mentally as he saw that kiss as way too familiar and romantic than a friendly peck on the cheek. What sucks the most was that passed Yaoyorozu as his most sought-after prize, and acknowledged that Hado and Shield were too far out of his league, that Mina was his first backup, followed by Tsu, then Uraraka, and so on. But now that bastard of a harem protagonist was able to snatch up the second hottest chick in their class too. And who knows who else? That's it. I now feel obligated to spy on their personal training session. Just so Midoriya doesn't do anything untoward to the girls. Mineta really meant something he would have done and Midoriya would have had better luck in doing it. Kaminari noticed that look of manic jealousy in his closest thing to a best friend and sighed. Okay, maybe I definitely need to talk to the guys about this, Kaminari sighed. Buu recovered quickly and began teleporting all over the place, Kirby's fighter abilities helping to expertly block and dodge all of Buu's attacks. Damn, he's blocking all of them, Otto exclaimed. They're in a standstill. Not so fast, rookie. It's no standstill, Miruko responded, eyes narrowing as she caught Buu's and Kirby's speed. Buu is speeding up with every attack, and Kirby's barely keeping up. It won't be long until dash. Finally, Buu teleported behind Kirby and struck a successful punch at the puffball. A puff of stars followed by his ability's disappearance. Aha! Kirby yelped as he was sent flying into a tree, breaking it. Just one hit can make a big difference between victory and defeat, All Might said. Izuku nodded at his mentor's words. It was that very lesson that he applied when he defeated Muscular, despite his injuries. All it took was one overpowered smash to power through Muscular's fiber muscles and plant the villain into the cliff. Kid Buu unexpectedly fired multiple key fireballs behind him. The fireballs sailed through the air until they struck their target, the Warp Star. Buu warped toward the now broken Warp Star and smacked it to Kirby, mockingly. That was mean. Eri pouted angrily. Yet calculated, Ida acknowledged. Buu must have realized that the Warp Star was the means that which Kirby could keep up and outpace him, so he destroyed it to make Kirby less maneuverable. That or he just destroyed it because he knew it would make Kirby sad, Hagakure added, noting how Buu destroyed and smacked it away like a bully breaking a kid's favorite toy. Kirby recovered and took note of his destroyed War Star. This only lasted a second as he inhaled the Warp Star, shocking Buu. Suddenly, the Star Rod sprouted out and onto Kirby's hand, paw. The Star Rod. Kirby's ultimate weapon, Izuku noted. Still ridiculous that his most powerful weapon is a magic wand with a star on it. Bakugo muttered about the stupidity and childish weapon. A magic wand that he blew up half of the moon with, Todoroki muttered. Zip it, Scarface. Bakugo barked. With his new weapon, Kirby fired 3 magical stars at Buu. The Majin of Destruction countered with his own key fireballs and teleported at the same time. The respective attacks cancelled each other out in an explosion of sparkles. But as Kirby waited, Bu appeared from behind and kicked the wand out of Kirby's hand. "Impressive," Edgeshot muttered. He used his fireballs as both a means to counter Kirby's attacks but also a cover to approach and surprise attack Kirby. He also targeted Kirby's wand to try and rid Kirby of a potentially dangerous weapon, Ryukyu added. Kirby quickly jumped up and retrieved the wand, firing another star at Bu, which the fighter warped away. But as he did and Kirby landed, the hero of Dreamland reared the wand back and charged up energy into the weapon. Predicting where his opponent would go, Kirby fired a concentrated golden beam of energy. As Bu reappeared, the beam struck. "Gaga!" Bu cried out in pain as the beam tore at his body into pieces. His upper half and one leg, the most concrete parts of his gooey flesh. Yes! He knew where he was going to be struck. Pony cheered. Kirby must have been predicting and analyzing where Bu would warp to after so many times, saving that knowledge for a killing blow, Momo analyzed. "Quite the smart plan for a baby," Kyoka pointed out. "Guess Boomstick was kind of wrong for saying he's too dumb for that." "Hey, don't think this is over yet, my girls," Setsuna grinned. As Bu's head was focused on, his eyes stopped open. "Ha!" Kid Bu grinned. Quickly, Bu's parts began to gather and regenerate, and the Majin of Destruction was whole once again. "Like I said, regeneration for the win," Setsuna grinned more victoriously. Bu fired another blast of energy. The fireball landed and destroyed the star rod from Kirby's hand. Kirby looked at where his destroyed wand was with tearful eyes. The infant hero flopped to the ground hopeless and crying. "Oh," Hagakure cooed sadly. "He's crying. Man the hell up, shitty Deku. No wonder he's your counter." Bakuga stopped himself. He would have continued further, but there was an unexpected sight that he found when looking over at Midoriya, Nijire Hado. Normally, Bakuga wouldn't have cared about any of the girls, or the rest of his classmates, glaring at him, but there was something different about Hado's glare. It was unnerving. So much hate and anger were in those eyes, quite alien to the normally cheery upperclassmen. And all of it was directed at him with the fury of 1,000 suns. If looks could kill, Bakuga would have been an even messier splatter of pieces like Kid Bu was, but without any regeneration. What's her deal? Bakuga thought, a bead of sweat falling down from his brow. He had no idea, nor why such a glare seemed to strike at his very soul more than any he ever had. While Kirby moped on the ground, Bu raised his hand above his head and out formed a large ball of pink energy that kept on growing and growing. As it did, its energy was felt throughout the planet, lightning thundering in the background. His planet burst attack, Mizu recognized it. He means to destroy the entire planet and Kirby along with it. "Come on, Kirby." Eri cheered for her now favorite character, raising his plushie in solidarity. "Get up and keep fighting. Go plus ultra." Izuku smiled at Eri, proud of her for that. "Dia!" Kid Bu roared as he launched the planet burst at Kirby. "It would appear this match is over." Endeavor closed his eyes. "I wouldn't be sure about that," Mizu grinned. "Just look." As Kirby got up, still crying over the loss of his star rod, the scene shifted back to his stomach dimension, specifically to the miracle fruit. What is that?" Suka asked wearily. "The miracle fruit." Izuku gasped. The fruit activated and everything turned white. "D!" Kirby's voice shouted in the white light. The light faded and in its place, Kirby was now glowing in rainbow light. "Hypernova Kirby! Hypernova Kirby!" Mina and Hagakure exclaimed in cheers. "Yay! Plus ultra!" Eri cheered again, earning her tickles and laughs from her papa. Setsuna paled. "I got a bad feeling about this." As the planet burst reached Kirby, the rainbow glowing puffball opened his mouth wide and inhaled the planet burst in a single gulp. "What?" Many of the Majin Bu voters exclaimed in shock. Just as easily as he swallowed it, Kirby spat out the planet burst, right back at the shocked Buu. The attacks collided and continued, sending the helpless and groaning Majin through the sky and out of the planet's atmosphere. Eventually, Kid Buu was dragged by the planet burst into the sun, where it and the Majin of destruction met their end. When the sun turned around, it shows Kirby's face. Loud drumming sounded as the screen zoomed ominously closer to Kirby till all that was left on the screen was pink and Kirby's face. Hi-yi thio. Kirby smiled cheerfully. Yo. Hua-ahu. The Majin Buu voters were the first to snap from their collective shock and roared in a mixture of shock and outrage. This in turn snapped the Kirby voters from their shock too. Yai-i-i-i-i-i-i-i-i-i. They cheered in victory. What the fucking fuck was that? Bakuga roared in outrage, shaking off the shock and unease of Hado's glare. Kirby inhaled Buu's attack and blasted it and him into the sun. Todoroki answered seriously. I know what I saw, icy hot. Bakuga exploded on him. What I meant was why. Then you should have asked that, Shoto coldly replied. At ease, young Bakuga, I'm sure the two will explain what happened. All Might warned Bakuga, which finally managed to plant Bakuga back in his seat. Kirby inhaled the last remaining part of Buu, his Buu, and transformed into a new form. Buu Kirby, with this new form adding Buu's tentacle antenna thingy, and used it to fire the chocolate beam and turn two poor Waddle-Dees into screaming, horrified cookies that Kirby salivated at. Well, I think they doomed the rest of those people. Mount Lady scratched at her cheek, nervously. The rest of the group was now even more nervous at the thought of meeting Kirby if he could turn them into candy for his hunger and pleasure. No way, did that seriously just happen? Bakuga groaned in disbelief. That's what I'm saying. Bakuga roared, though his explosions didn't come out under Monoma's ordered eraser stare. Yep. Oddly enough, Kirby's strength, speed, and durability matched and surpassed Buu's. Was confirmed. Yes, Buu has more destructive capability, but Kirby's inhale and copy ability let him absorb and rebound anything that could have killed him, such as the chocolate beam and the planet burst attack. Momo figured. And Kirby's no slouch when it comes to power, Boomstick noted. He tanked a planet-sized explosion without a scratch when the same kind of blast turns Buu into mush. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Mina gasped, slamming her fist into her palm. That's big brain. Kyoka face-bombed. I don't just have to deal with one idiot or two, but several. Kyoka internally groaned. And one or two of them are going to possibly be my sisters if things go right with Midoriya. And remember the frying pan thing. Boomstick reminded the audience. Popstar is approximately the same size as the planet Shiverstar, which is actually a post-apocalyptic Earth, was revealed, showing the planet as truly the Earth but gray and lifeless. The group didn't exactly like that fact. Wait, does this mean that Kirby and all this takes place in the future? Kaminari exclaimed. I highly doubt there are planets shaped like an actual star out there, kid. Power Loader eased Kaminari's worries. This means Popstar's gravity and escape velocity must be similar to that of Earth's. Wiz began to explain the math. Throwing the giant acid monster Popon up to the sun means Kirby threw at least 3.5 tons over 25,000 miles per hour. And that's not even counting the giant frying pan or the return trip. So, anything Kirby would have launched at Buu, including the planet burst attack, would be able to escape Popstar's gravity and head to the sun as quickly. Itsuka realized and sighed, disappointed at her fighter's loss. And Kirby's warp star moves faster than light, a speed that Buu has never had to combat before, Boomstick pointed out. Combined with their even enough speeds when Buu was Fat Buu, then Kirby could have outlasted his opponent easier, Ryukyu said, smirking as she saw Miruko grumpily pouting at Buu's defeat. But Buu has that teleportation ability, Bakuga whined. He should have been able to teleport away from his own attack. But Boomstick, Buu could have teleported away from the planet burst ball, right? Boomstick mimicked a whiny butthurt fan. Ouch, way to be called out, King Explosion Murder. Mineta mocked Bakuga. Only to yelp and use Kaminari for cover when Bakuga looked ready to live up to that name. Well, his instantaneous movement has limits in extreme situations, such as when he didn't use it when a similar giant ball of murder was killing him at the end of Dragon Ball Z, was explained, showing Bu being vaporized into dust by the spirit bomb. That aligns with what they said about the ability with Goku. Izuku flipped to his notes on Goku. Back then, they said that his instant transmission can only be used if the user can concentrate effectively. Goku couldn't do it under extreme situations. And I guess the same applies to Bu. Aha! Consistency! Mirio proclaimed victoriously. Bu just couldn't stomach this fight, Boomstick punned. Just as much as I can't stomach any more of these awful puns, Nijire groaned. The winner is Kirby, Wiz declared. Claps of victory and resigning defeat were heard, while Bakugo and Miruko continued to pout. Yay! We won! We won! We won! Eri jumped for joy with plushie Kirby raised high. Clicking the button again till she found the right response, Eri and Kirby once more danced in victory. You know what, enough pouting like a sore loser. That puffball can kick ass. Miruko proclaimed, suddenly feeling better. Fine, whatever, Bakugo muttered, unable to stay mad after that. Hey, whoever won, I think we all learned one important lesson. Pink reigns supreme. Mina posed, a victory sign with her fingers over one of her eyes, the other winking, a hand on her hip, and her tongue sticking out. I am on the brink of having an aneurysm. Jiro rubbed her forehead. Haha, good one. Mirio laughed. Next time on Death Battle, Boomstick announced for the next fight. Rocking music played as a man with spiky white hair in a red trench coat was shown before the title of the game, BlazBlue, was shown. The white-haired man clashed and fought magically charged fists, 2 katanas, and a giant cleaver of a sword. Another title popped in, this one saying Guilty Gear, had a man also in red and spiky hair, though this one instead having brown hair, and he also seemed to have an overtly sized sword. Finally, both sword fighters were shown facing against each other. Ragna versus Soul Bad Guy. Ha, it's another swordsman fight, Shoda noticed. Yes, Kamakiri roared. And they have giant-ass swords like that Cloud Guy. Soul Bad Guy, Setsuna repeated the name, chuckling. Ha, funny. I wonder if he is a bad guy. Oh Lord, bear me strength, Ibera sighed. With a nod from Nizu, May clicked the play button for the next video.